For joining me today. We are live. It is Monday, March 11th, 2024. And this is the beginning of a full week of broadcasting here at the TJ Walker Success Show. Last week we were off, other than Thursday, because we were working on infrastructure, trying to improve audio quality, mics here, video quality, still having problems with earpieces as of 2 seconds ago, which is why we got a late start today. We're attempting to go live here every single day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. Apologies for the late start, but happens to everyone. Happened to the Academy Awards ceremony in Hollywood last night, and those are the fanciest video production people in the entire world. We'll talk about the Oscars last night. What I find fascinating about the Oscars is everyone says public speaking is boring and nobody likes public speaking, but the Oscar Awards, the Academy Awards, are essentially a whole bunch of speeches. They are acceptance speeches and they are introduction speeches. That's all it really is. Yeah, there's some music in there and people do some singing and dancing and a few other things, but it's basically a series of speeches, and it attracts hundreds of millions of people all over the globe watching it. So that's why I do like to watch it. If you saw the Academy Awards last night and you have a particular speech you'd like to comment on that you liked or didn't like, please let me know. Because fortunately, we can still talk about Academy Awards. Here in the United States, I can't really talk about the President of the United States giving a speech because things are so polarized. If I'm talking about someone's speaking skills, I get so much hate mail from people assuming I'm talking about their political philosophy and agenda, which is not the focus of our show right here. So that's why I tend to stay away from talking about American political actors, but we can still talk about movie stars and their speeches as well. So that'll be coming up today. Also today, I'm going to giving you a behind the scenes look at how webinars created and give you a sneak peek of my latest presentation skills training workshop slash webinar slash sales funnel. No one else has seen it. I haven't even seen it yet, believe it or not. We're going to be debuting it right here. And I'm going to ask for feedback from you and let you know what we're trying to do and see if you have any thoughts on that. Let's see, we have Adam has joined us in India today. If you are, or excuse me, Ayush is with us as well. If you want to come in and say hello or ask a question, very happy for you to do so. And Adam says, hi, TJ, hope you're having a good day. Well, thank you so much. It is an absolutely stunningly beautiful day here in South Florida, in the United States. It is right now 67 degrees. And forgive me, I don't know what that is in centigrade, but one of those days where I walk to the office in shorts, Crocs, a linen shirt, and it wasn't hot, it wasn't cold. It was just a beautiful, perfect day. Hope you had a great weekend. Mine was fantastic. My daughter turned 11 years old yesterday. So sort of an entire weekend of festivities with friends and having fun, doing everything from going to a place called What the Fish a block away, where you put your feet into a giant vat of water and little fish nibble on the dead skin on your legs. I'd done it before, but she and her friend wanted to try it. They had a great time. Off to the mall, dinner, fun, and a lot of other activities. And Adam says, happy birthday to your daughter. Well, thank you so much. I'll be sure to pass that on to her. So I do want to get your thoughts. I'm going to weigh in with some of my analysis on some of the Academy Award-winning speeches. The one that does stand out that a lot of people are talking about is Robert Downey Jr., who won for Best Supporting Actor. And the first thing out of his mouth was, I'd like to thank my awful childhood and the Academy in that order. And it got a big chuckle. It got a big laugh. He is someone who made a huge comeback, was a early superstar in his career, even late teens, early 20s, basically ruled Hollywood, then went so downhill being addicted to drugs and alcohol, was notorious for just waking up in strangers' homes in Hollywood, getting arrested, had a very, very downtime in his career, but rehabilitated himself, or was rehabilitated, and has worked himself back up to stardom, and now getting the epitome of a Hollywood stamp of approval, winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor last night. So he received a lot of positive attention, and we can talk about that as well. Now, what I'd like to do is play the videos of these acceptance speeches. But the Academy Awards and the TV networks that license them are very protective of their intellectual property. So even though I could make the case that it's fair use, I'm going to show a small clip, analyze it from a public speaking standpoint, they will then quickly zap me and say, you're stealing our property. I'd have to appeal it. It would be a 30-day process before we could show this video again. So it's kind of a headache. So I'll try to figure out how to get better at that. But for right now, it's a bit of a production. Let's see if Adam wants to join us today. And you can simply hang out backstage here in our green room, be a part of the inner circle if you want. But if you did want to come on camera and say hello, and you've taken yourself off, absolutely no problem. We're happy just to have you join us, Adam and Ayush. My colleague and associate, Ben, is with us, who's going to be helping me with some administrative details. So what we're trying to do here is a little bit different. And to my knowledge, nobody else in the world is doing this. I'm trying to have not just a YouTube channel, but a place online on really all social media that gives you tutorials and how-to information on how to speak more effectively, how to communicate effectively, how to use more effective body language, how to improve your voice, how to avoid common mistakes, but also an actual live forum for you to ask questions about communication skills, for you to demonstrate what you're doing and get live feedback from a coach. And we've been doing this now for a little more than a month in this particular setup. And today we'd like to say hello to our friends on Instagram. Today is the first day that we have figured out a way of streaming live on Instagram. So if you're seeing me for the first time on Instagram, we've been doing this a while, but we just figured out technically the way of connecting this on Instagram. So we want to say hello to all of our friends on Instagram. It is a platform, I will confess, I don't spend a lot of time on. And there's really no good reason other than you can only be so many places at once in any given day. And it's just not been one I've given a priority to. But if the people on Instagram want to show up, you'll be treated with full respect. You can always join us live right here. And Ben, go ahead and post in the comments section the link for people who want to join us live right here on StreamYard. Anyone can post in questions on whatever forum you're looking at this, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, X, Facebook, any place, and I'll typically see them right here. But if you want to actually appear on screen with me and talk and have equal footing, happy to share some of the spotlight with you. So all you have to do is sign in to StreamYard. And let me make sure I'm in the right section. I may be in the private chat. So let me go to the comments section. Okay. So Ben, I don't see in the comment section. If you could post in the comment section the StreamYard link for today, that would be great. So what we're in the process of trying to do is turn this into a show. Because right now it's you see me, I come on live, I take your questions, I do demonstrations, I sometimes do short form and long form videos, and I'm doing things from extra camera angles. But we're still very much in an experimental mode. The goal is really to create a sustainable, long-term daily show that could be roughly 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time, 5 days a week, other than days when I'm traveling, off giving a speech, doing a training, a national holiday, or I'm on vacation or something like that. So that is really the goal. We're attempting to give it a little more structure and make it feel just like if you wanted to spend 3 hours of your day on CNN or some other reputable channel or program. Something where ideally you're here with us and you're paying it close attention. But if you want to just have it on background too, because you like to get positive reinforcement on messages that are going to help you in your life, that works too. What this channel is all about, if you're new today or you haven't spent a lot of time with us, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping you become more successful in your personal life and professional life by building your confidence and your competence in your communication skills. So it's about helping you become a better communicator, becoming more confident in your communication so that you can achieve more success in life. So it's a pretty tall order, but it's also very, very focused on what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to help you become rich with cryptocurrency. We're not trying to help you eliminate every bad habit, although habit formation is a topic near and dear to my heart. Now, you've just seen it's under my name, but my colleague Ben has posted the link to StreamYard today. So if you would like to speak to us, speak to me live, ask a question, share your perspective. Doesn't have to be asking a question from me. You can simply be sharing your thoughts, for example, on who you thought gave the best or the worst Academy Award acceptance speech last night, if you saw that. Or you can talk about any major speech that you've seen in your own country. I know we have a lot of regulars in India, and Prime Minister Modi is an extraordinarily powerful communicator. Now, time out, I'm not endorsing his politics. While I have been involved with Indian politics and campaigns there, I'm not currently, I don't purport to be up to date or be an expert on Indian politics. So if you want to talk about a particular Indian politician's speech, we can do that. We just have to realize we're not going to get into a crossfire battle of people commenting on the politics or why they love or hate a particular politician. We're really just here to get better at speaking skills. Okay, so one of the things I'm doing throughout these regular programs we've been doing is demonstrating how you can speak, get in front of more people, and make money. So we'll be continuing an ongoing series today on the Amazon Influencer Program. I won't simply be talking about the influencer program the way a lot of people do on social media. I'll be making videos showing you soup to nuts. How do I go from picking up a product to getting an ad actually on Amazon where people can watch it? And if they watch it and then click and buy something, I get a commission. And in your case, you would get a commission if you do exactly the same steps. So that will be coming up later today. But first, I want to get feedback from you. We're starting something new here. This is a show, it's a program, it's a workshop, it's a behind the scenes look at what a content creator does and what a communication skills trainer does. So one of the things we're trying to do is figure out a way of monetizing this program. Because as much as I love the other day when someone gave me a super chat, I think it was for €9, that's great. I don't want to have to spend every 5 minutes asking you to send super chats and the things where you click and give money. I don't want to have to be panhandling that way. So, and nothing wrong with the content creators who do use that as a primary source of revenue. But we're experimenting with advertising and promotions right here in this channel. And I'm going to do something right now where I have not even seen these yet. My editing team has put these together. I have made a series of ads for the Amazon Influencer Program. But when you do something with Amazon, they don't own the property. You can then use those videos, that content, any other way you want. So I am going to share business setting that requires a tie, Calvin Klein. Okay. So this is the first time doing it. So that's why you might have seen, well, TJ looked a little startled. What I'm doing there is I've clicked a video and I'm going to show you ads that I've made that appear on Amazon right now and that make me money. The ads are not slick. They're not edited. But we're putting these in to give you a sense of really how simple it is. If I can do it, I have very little technical skills. If I could do it, you can too. These appear to be verticals. So I'm going to let these run. And this will be essentially a commercial break here in this program. Now, I don't want to clutter up the program constantly, but maybe every 20 minutes or so, I can sit down and rest and be able to have a sip of tea without doing it in front of you. So we're going to play these. I'm going to take myself off and we're just going to take a look. I would love to get feedback from you. Now you can do it in the comments section or the private chat if you're in StreamYard. But if there's something you don't like or you want to be critical, feel free to put it in the public comments. I'm a big boy. I can take it. So don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. So I'm going to take myself off. We're going to play these right now. Or actually, I don't have to take myself off. I'm going to, we're trying to figure this out. Ben, let me just add you. Ben, if I don't want to show myself, should I just take the camera off? Or is there one of the settings on StreamYard? So I'm only going to show the video. And Ben, your microphone is off. Ben, your mic is off. There you go. So Ben, I'm confused about whether I should. Oh, maybe there's another. Oh, now I know what I can do. I'm going to do this. Okay. I figured it out. All right. So I'm going to hit play. Tell me what you think. For those of you just joining us, this is sort of a preview of ads I've made for the Amazon Influencer Program, which I plan on occasionally using right here on the TJ Walker Success Show. So I want your honest feedback. What do you like? What do you not like? Mine does the job. Simple, elegant. I wear it on TV every day. If you're looking for simple elegance, nothing beats this Calvin Klein light blue business shirt. It doesn't distract. It looks great in person. It looks great on camera. I live in South Florida where it's hot. Other than when I'm on camera, I only wear linen shirts. This Untuckit linen shirt looks great. It feels great, and it doesn't wrinkle as much as others. This Perry Ellis maroon tie is simple. It's elegant. I can't wait to wear. This is my favorite color for a tie. It's not so red and bright and glary. It doesn't distract. It's simple elegance. This Tommy Hilfiger dress shirt is simple. It's elegant. It has the sort of fabric that gives me a little texture that I like, and it's wrinkle-free. You want something to go well with your suit? Give it a try. Everybody likes money. Everybody needs money, but do you understand your psychological relationship to money? This book, Happy Money, will help you along that path, make you happier and ideally a little wealthier. Artificial intelligence is everywhere in the news these days. If you feel like you want a little deeper background, then I highly recommend AI Superpowers. It goes into the history of AI, the US, China, and elsewhere. It's a great foundation. If you enjoy warm beverages, but you don't want to have to microwave water or have a traditional kettle on all day long, this is the solution. This electric kettle heats my water quickly and it keeps it warm or tea all day long. This is almost magical. I no longer have to have matches around the house or lighters with lighter fluid. This electric lighter, I don't even know how it does it, but it lights, handles anything I need. I like to think I'm the Incredible Hulk and so strong I can open any jar, but I can't. That's why I love this. It helps me get any jar, any top off quickly and easily. Want to show mom you love her? Well, what better than a cup that says, I love mom. This is a hit on Mother's Day or any other day. I love fresh garlic in my food, but I can't stand mashing it up myself. That's why I love this garlic press. It is clean, easy to use, easy to clean up, and makes my food taste great. Father's Day is a special day in my household. This year, my daughter gave me this world's greatest farter, I mean father. She does have a sense of humor and likes to tease dad a little bit. In my household, we use Cascade Platinum Plus. It's simple, it's easy to use, there's no mess. I take it and throw it in the dishwasher. Don't have to worry about it. Get a big box so it lasts a long time. Let's face it, sometimes kitchens, bathrooms, homes don't smell perfectly. That's why Febreze Air is in our house. It quickly makes any room smell better. This Kenneth Cole all leather reaction bag is fantastic. I've had it for 15 years. It looks as good as the day I bought it. You're gonna love it. I love these water shoes. I live in Florida and I take my daughter to water parks frequently. And if you're barefoot, your feet hurt too much by the end of the day. Or sometimes going on a beach where there's coral. These will protect. When I'm not on camera, I wear glasses all day long. They get dirty, they get greasy. I love my Magic Fiber. It cleans it so easily, quickly. I try to keep one in my pocket, in my briefcase, and at home at all times. Do you see the sunshine here? No, you don't, because these are great blackout curtains. I have them in my TV studio, and it keeps the light out and gives me what I need, control of the lighting.
Okay.
This 128 gig. So an interesting experiment. I had not seen these ads going back and forth. Now, do I expect any of those ads to be a real challenge to Madison Avenue and Don Draper is shaking in his boots, worried about this great new advertising creative talent, TJ Walker? No. As you can no doubt notice, there's not a lot of art there. It's simply me talking, sharing what I like about a product. If I spent a day coming up with fancy concepts, could I come up with better ideas to advertise a particular product? Sure. Could I add music and hire an editing team? It's possible, absolutely. That's not the point of these. The whole point of this particular style of ad is it's essentially a product review from an influencer sharing what they like about a particular product. And you may have noticed, it sort of struck me as listening to that, which is how often I would just say, what I love about this product. And that's genuine. I didn't sit there and write it out. I didn't get ChatGPT to tell me the perfect wording to do these ads. I simply held up a product, talked about what I liked about it, how I thought it benefited me personally, and why I think it might benefit other people too. So that is something I think, frankly, anybody could do. So if your response to seeing that was, well, that stuff TJ did, that didn't seem that sophisticated, or anyone could do that. I could do that. Well, guess what? You can. What's holding you back? Why not do it? So for so many years, people have come to me saying, TJ, I want to be a professional speaker. I want to speak in front of people and I want to make money. How do I do it? Knocking on doors to the Rotary Club just to give a free speech gets pretty old after a while. And getting on the phone, trying to call people who run big conventions and having no one return my phone calls is boring and tedious. That's what people have told me for years. And simply making a video for social media, not being able to connect with an advertiser or sponsor, and calling advertisers, calling sponsors, hoping to get some deal, that's frustrating. That's what's exciting about the Amazon Influencer Program, because it essentially eliminates two different gatekeepers. Amazon puts you in front of audiences because the video you make goes right on the product page. Not guaranteed, but often. And they instantly, with one click, marry you with the brand. So if someone clicks on the product and buys it after watching your video, you get a commission. I want to stress, this is not get rich quick. I've not gotten rich making these little ads, but I'm liking the trend lines. I'm not supposed to tell you the exact numbers from Amazon. That's a violation of their code of conduct, their rules for Amazon influencers. But I can tell you, I'm liking the trend lines. Anytime I start a new business, I'm much more interested in trend lines as opposed to Did I make $10,000 the first day? Very few new businesses where you can just make $10,000 the first day. But I'm looking for the signals from the marketplace. And I've been pleasantly encouraged by this Amazon influencer program in general, or specifically, and in general, the idea of people who, average people, people who are not famous, like a Kim Kardashian or a movie star, essentially promoting and being a spokesperson for a product. Because I've always been skeptical of, sometimes when people say, oh, affiliate income, be an affiliate, I typically check my wallet and run, because I personally, for most of the last 30 years of the internet, did not know anyone who's made any money from affiliate programs. Well, that's no longer true. There are a lot of tools out there that make it easier. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier than it's ever been to make money from affiliate ads, I believe. So what I just did there, I hope you're seeing as a little demonstration to motivate you as just one way of doing it. I'm doing, frankly, what I enjoy and what's easy to me is simple talking head video, unedited, unscripted. I also happen to think it's the easiest thing anyone can do. Okay, Ayesh has joined us and says, it's amazing. What part, everyone loves praise, and of course I love being told I'm amazing, but what did you think specifically was amazing? And the Vid Story has joined us. I think I just reached out to you in an email because you're an expert on video and editing and thumbnails and that sort of thing. If you would like to talk with me online, I'm more than happy to join you. Now, sometimes people think that, well, it's a little odd. TJ is asking me to have a private meeting about his business in a live forum broadcast to the world. It's an experiment, what we're doing here. I'm trying to be transparent with my community, with people who care about communication skills, and show them kind of behind the scenes of, some of you have seen me do this before, but I'm sort of taking you behind the curtains of what really goes on in a training business, in a content creation business. And that's why I actually hold meetings with people who want to pitch me on services and help me improve and that sort of thing, and work together. And I have absolutely nothing against anyone pitching me their professional services. I can't do everything alone. I work with an entire team. Ben works with me every day, and Barb and all kinds of people work with me every day. My tailors made this because I can't make suits. I had an associate come by and assemble a closet for me to put our shoes in over the weekend because I started it and realized, wow, I'm just not good at this and I don't enjoy it. So I'm very much open to people pitching me on their expertise, because I like to be able to pitch people on my expertise. That's part of what we do here, and a part of what I'll be showing you shortly with my new training video that no one has seen in the world. This will be a debut right here. And it's also a webinar, and it's a part of a sales funnel. But I think you'll agree, I hope you'll agree, it's different from any one you've ever seen before. Certainly it's different from the most common way people are doing so-called training videos online and using them as sales funnels. So Adam says, in addition to saying happy birthday, just wanted to say hi. It's now 3:28 in Egypt, the first day of Ramadan. Appreciate you making time to spend with us. By the way, I hope you're free this week to have the call I told you about on email. Feel free to check it after the stream. So Adam, again, I hope this doesn't seem weird, but I'm not taking private calls anymore for my own work structure and planning. I'm happy to talk to you right here in the live feed, because if you're an expert on email is a form of communication. This entire channel is about communication. So I would love to not only learn about your expertise in email, but I would also love to share your expertise with others too, because anyone who watches this channel, you're not here for the entertainment. Okay. You're not here for the eye candy. Okay. So you're here to learn about communication. Yeah. Speaking of eye candy, there was a bit last night on the Academy Awards where John Cena comes out completely naked, other than holding a little card right in front of a certain spot. And it overall, I think, went well, was received well, and kind of a spoof on a very famous situation that happened in the 1974 Academy Awards, where a streaker did run across the stage naked. So it was a fun playback on that. Oh, Ayesha, I did want to ask you what specifically was amazing of the ads you saw. And VidStory, if there's anything else you wanted to share too, would love to hear from you on that. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. If you're joining us just now, we are live. This is a channel devoted to helping you become more successful in life by communicating more effectively and by being more confident in your communication. You know, people always ask me, what really needs to happen in a training when I'm working one-on-one with people? And it's really two things. Number one, someone's skills actually have to improve dramatically to the point where they're a great communicator, and their confidence level, their perception of how they do needs to improve to the point where they perceive themselves as a great communicator. You need both. You know what? Let me do a short, Ben. When you hear me say something like that, you think, oh, that could be interesting. Maybe just shout out and say, let's do a short on that. So I'm gonna cut to a different angle and I'm gonna record this. Clear the set a little. Again, this is what we're doing here. We do take you behind the scenes so you can actually see how creators create certain content. What really needs, just tripped over a mat. So you're going to see the mistakes here too. What really needs to happen in an ideal presentation skills training? Number one, the person being trained needs to actually improve their skills to the point where they're great, but that's not enough. They also have to perceive that their skills have gone way up. They need the skills, but they need the confidence as well. It takes both. Okay, so I'm doing that from a different camera angle because our own research, our own data has shown that the short form videos people tend to watch the most on my YouTube channel and other social media platforms is when I'm not looking right at the camera. It's when I appear to be looking at an audience and I'm demonstrating, I'm moving around more, and it looks like I'm in a conference or a convention hall. So that's why we have these curtains over here for this particular angle. Is that a little bit artificial? Yeah, but I mean, a lot of TV is artificial and a lot of video is artificial. I'm doing it in part because I'm simply hoping to reach more people with good information and good tips that they can actually use. If you have questions about any aspect of communication, personal communication, public speaking, presentation skills, body language, how to improve your voice, how to speak to the news media, you can post the questions, you can email me, you can post comments in the community tab of the TJ Walker Success page on YouTube. By the way, what we try to do here on a regular basis, daily basis, is when we do go live, to post the link in the YouTube community channel tab, excuse me, the tab, the community tab. If you're not familiar with the tab is, you go to anyone's YouTube page and you'll see like home, video, shorts, live, podcast. There's a button there that says community. You click on that. That's where the host can make posts, but other people can leave comments, and it's a way for there to be more of a community. It's YouTube's chance to try to make it a little more like Facebook, other social media platforms where people can connect and not just commenting specifically on any one video, which they obviously make it easy to do, but to talk about other bigger issues. Okay. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and post them today. I will be making videos. I'm going to be coming here live for you every single day this week. Quick program note, all next week I'll be off. It's my daughter's spring break. Well, we will be going on vacation and taking some, I won't say well-deserved time off, but I'm looking forward to time off, so much appreciated time off. So I will be out of the studio. We will not be doing live stuff next week unless I get motivated on a ski chairlift or something like that. But every single day, we typically post 2 new short videos every day and 1 long form video. And we see a couple of other people coming in. Meditation Kids is giving me what looks like a smiley face. So thank you so much for stopping by and saying hello. Amir says hello from Twitter X. So Amir, thank you so much for writing. And I appreciate you have written to me several times. I appreciate you doing that and reaching out. If you want to come on live and say hello and tell us a little about your expertise, I'm happy to do that. Again, and Meditation Kid says for spring break. Yes, I'm going away for spring break. What's a little bit different about this channel is we like it when people are self-promotional, because what we're trying to do is give you tools to promote yourself. Most Facebook pages and groups and all these, they're like, no self-promotion. You go to Reddit, don't promote yourself, don't promote yourself. And I understand there's a good reason for that. You're trying to focus on the subject at hand and not let things get spammy. But the subject, the very subject of this channel, of all of these channels, of this community, is helping you promote yourself more effectively in spoken communication. Now, we do have some experts with us who are great at email, and that can be an important part of it. But the reason I say spoken communication is most people have gotten thousands of hours of formal instruction on how to write. Now, maybe not write great emails, but you have gotten instruction on how to start with capital letters and how to use punctuations and periods and all of that. Most people have no formal instruction on how to speak and how to pause and how to vary your voice and how to gesture in all of those things. So that is the void we're trying to fill right here on this channel. So I want to get feedback, and it's a place to test things. You can post videos and ask for feedback from the community. I want to do that right now. I would ask for some feedback specifically on my latest YouTube short. And I'm going to pull this up here in just a moment and share it with you. And I would love to get some honest feedback. It just went live a few minutes ago. And Emir says, no problem. I'm not sure what the problem was, but feel free to elaborate on that or come on live. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to do entire screen. I'm going to share the audio. I'm going to share screen 1. Sharing the audio. I don't know if I actually hit the right button for the audio, but we'll take a look. So this is a short form video. You'll recognize the set. I have not seen this. We're just going to see what it is. I want to get feedback from you, what you like, what you don't like. What's the best way to get feedback from an audience member to build your confidence as a speaker? If someone says, hey, great job, good speech today, really professional, just say thanks. Say thanks and then say, what did you remember? If the only thing they remember is that you seem competent and professional, guess what? You didn't do a very good job. What you're listening for is them telling you specific messages, examples, and stories they remember. That's the ultimate test of any presentation. And if your audience members can tell you that, that is valuable feedback that will build your confidence. What's the best? Okay. And what I don't, Ben, can you tell me, did the audio play for you? Because I heard it through my speakers, which I should not have. Can you tell me Ben or anyone else in the comments section, did you hear that audio? And or Ben, just come on. I meant okay. Oh, Amir says it was a pleasure talking with us. Thank you, Amir. So I need to know from someone, did that audio play? Because I don't know if I hit the settings. Ben, can you hear me? Okay, Ben, I need you to know, did you hear the audio of that video I just played? You did. Okay, now I'm seeing your head nod. Okay, great. So let's just talk about this video for a second. I'm going to take myself off screen. So this is a video. Sometimes I see videos of the short forms because I'm not involved with the editing process. Sometimes I'll see it and I'll think, wow, that didn't really capture the essence of what I'm trying to do. Didn't think that made sense. That video isn't going to do well. Sometimes I'll have that impression and I'm completely wrong. Something I think that doesn't even make sense gets thousands and thousands of views. The video we just watched, again, that's the first time I've ever seen that. I love that video. I thought that was an incredibly important point, a valuable point. It's resonated with in-person clients I've worked with for decades. It's not advice you read in 99% of communication skills books. So I think it's great advice. It's rarely heard, and it can be transformational. So I would love for that video to go viral and get thousands, tens of thousands of views. It's just launched a few minutes ago. I would very much appreciate if you taking a look at it and telling me what you think if I missed something on that. Because oftentimes the videos I think are the most important, the best that really help people, things that resonate with people in real life, fall completely flat online. And now I see the message. I think for some reason we had a delay on the messages. Ben, I see that you did in fact hear the video. Okay. So, and what I'm doing, so you know, I'm toggling back and forth between the private chat and the comments section. So if you come into StreamYard, well, anyone can leave comments on any platform, and I typically receive them through StreamYard. If you're in StreamYard, you can also send me a private chat while we're having these times together. So that's what I'm trying to do. My colleague Ben is working with me carefully on this and overseeing various production aspects. But I'd love to get your feedback on what you think could be done better, more effectively with these YouTube shorts. What we've tried to do in the last few months is, frankly, dramatically improve the video production quality. Because you may remember, for a long time, I just had the green screen chroma key, and sometimes things pixelate and look a little cheap and weird. So we've added a professional setting. And those of you new, again, this is not the chroma key. This is not green screen. You can see this is actually a fairly decent sized room. I'm walking around here, and we've added the different cameras and camera angles so that I can demonstrate best practices. Because when you are speaking, part of what makes people nervous is, people are looking at me head to toe. They can see my hands shaking. What do I do with my hands? So I put my hands behind my back. Well, no, you don't put your hands behind your back, because you look like you're about to be handcuffed and taken away to prison. So I do not advocate putting your hand behind your back. But that's just an example of how we're trying to improve things, how we're trying to upgrade things around here. And like with a lot of people who have been successful on YouTube, you try and you experiment with different things. They don't always work, or they don't always work quickly. Most YouTubers will say, if you steadily build and improve your quality over time, and you're doing a lot of other things well, and you're listening to your audience, all of those things combined get positive results. But there's plenty of cases where people went from a $20 webcam to a $3,000 camera, and they may have actually seen their view count drop. It's not necessarily a one-to-one correspondence. The more money you put in, the fancier the set, then the more views you get. That's certainly been the case for me, where sometimes we increase the quality and we've noticed views actually go down. Is that because people like sort of the rougher, simpler set? I don't know. We're still trying to figure it out. I mean, one of the reasons I'm in a suit and tie today instead of just, a simple casual shirt is you, the people who come to this channel, have essentially voted with your clicks and your views. And of all of my old videos in the last year, 50% of the ones that got all the views are with me wearing a suit and tie. So that's where I am. That's why I am, in fact, wearing a suit and tie. Okay, I promised you earlier I would do this, and I am going to do this. We're going to play for you this is a world premiere, essentially. I haven't even seen it yet. So this is a new training video. It's going to be posted on YouTube, other social media, but it's going to be promoted daily with my YouTube Shorts and TikTok Shorts and other social media videos I'm doing, telling people at the end, hey, basically, if you got something value out of this video and you want to learn more, go to my free training tutorial right now here. It's going to direct people to this video. So it's a training video. It's a mini training course. It's about 80 minutes long. And you see these increasingly in every field across the internet because there is an entire giant industry of marketers and promoters telling subject matter experts, if you want to make money, you need to put people into a sales funnel through a webinar, a sales training video, where you act like you're going to train them a whole bunch of stuff. But really, all you do is poke their pains, make them feel insecure, whet their appetite for more, do something where you appear to know a lot, and hook them in, at least get their email so you can bombard them 10 times a day till the end of time until they give you money. That's the conventional wisdom, and I'm caricaturizing it slightly. I don't want to seem holier than thou. I've tried some of these techniques before, but personally, I just don't enjoy interacting with people that way. I don't enjoy that particular style of sales presentation. So I've decided to sort of go back to what I like the best, what has personally worked best for me throughout my career. Now, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I've seen people come and go. I've seen people retire. I've seen people get run out of the business. I've seen people go bankrupt. I'm still here. It's not that I know how to do everything perfectly, but I have figured out a way of experimenting regularly, seeing what works, and doing things that I personally feel comfortable with and that help me maintain long-term relationships with clients and customers. People I've worked with who still give me business after, one in particular I can think of since 1986. So we're coming up on, what is that, about 38 years. I have other relationships with PR firms and individuals that have certainly gone a quarter of a century long. So part of it is, I think I'm not quite as aggressive at the hard sell and the manipulation, and you've got to act now the next 20 minutes or this deal will be gone forever and you'll have destroyed your career and you'll have lost $100 million. There are people who do that, and it does work for them occasionally. But I just am not that comfortable with it. I don't enjoy it. Okay. And Barb has joined us. Thanks, Barb. Barb, Barb points out, what did you not like about that style of presentation? I'm just coming in on this. Barb, thanks so much for joining us. Always happy to have you. And now I'm lost on what we were talking about, Barb, meaning maybe you're talking about the video I just saw of my YouTube short today. let me know what you were asking about there, Barb, because as always, I want to give you full due diligence. By the way, Barb, I was going to text you, but I didn't want to do it too early today. Ben was doing a test yesterday with Instagram. We are live on Instagram right now. If you are joining us from Instagram, we want to say a special hello. Thanks so much for joining us. I've been posting these communication skills training videos on on Instagram for quite some time. And we do have many tens of thousands of views per month on Instagram, but this is the first time we've gone live. So I'm hoping to build stronger relationship with the Instagram community. I know Ben's monitoring that right now and taking a look. So hope you can join us regularly if you are a part of the Instagram community. And Barb is saying it was the style of presentation. What you did not like. Oh, so Barb, I'm talking about the style of most webinars. You know, when you see constant emails and when you see social media posts, people saying, "Come to my free webinar, come to my free sales training." This typical standard is people put out information, maybe give you a tiny little insight, but then they spend most of the time in the sales training talking about your pains, what's wrong with you, how your career is being hurt. In the case of public speaking people, it is all about your lost opportunity. You feel nervous, you feel uncomfortable, you didn't get that job promotion because you performed poorly in your job interview. What I don't like is how the standard sales training video, which calls itself a course, it calls itself a free training, calls itself a training webinar, really doesn't deliver that much as far as dramatically improving your skills. It mostly is designed to agitate your fears, your needs, your sense of, wow, I really need to take action because I've got all these inadequacies, and then trying to get people to sign up for a program right away. So that's what has annoyed me. And that's what this new webinar, this new sales training video that I've created, and I'm going to show for you today, is, I think, not doing it. I'm just sort of straightforward, and I give you kind of the actual training I do, and I'm working with people one-on-one, or they come to my online course. I just give you the training. The vast majority of the time is about really building your skill set. And then I say, by the way, if you want more, you want to go in more depth, here are all the ways I can help people. And I list it on a page, and it will be in the description of the video. And what I'm trying to do is build long-term relationships. Now, I'm no spring chicken, and I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm hoping to do it another 35 years. So if you can come to this training video, learn something, maybe you're in college today, have no money, but 5 years from now, you may be in charge of an entire sales department, and you need me or my team to come and train your whole sales department. That's a win for me. I don't need to make a quick buck today. I'd much rather plant seeds for 5 years from now. So that's what it's all about. Okay. And meditation says, love your Udemy class. Well, thanks. Music to my ears. Those of you who know me primarily through YouTube or my books or something else, I do have a couple of hundred courses on the Udemy platform, which has increasingly become what Amazon is to books. Udemy is to online courses, online video-based on-demand courses. So meditation, yeah, Barb is asking which course you're in. And are you in our Facebook group specific to our Students for Udemy? Because that's a great support network where we give you even extra attention and feedback. So let us know right there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play this new training video. I think you'll enjoy it. Some of you, if you've been in any of my courses, will think, oh, some of this is sounding familiar. That's right, because the most important tips I give people on communication skills and giving strong presentations have not changed, and they do need to be repeated. So it will be a refresher for some of you. Others of you may be hearing it for the first time. So it is about 80 minutes long. Conventional wisdom is, well, a good sales webinar, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 45. Some advocate 12 minutes, leave. And a common tactic is, hey, I'd love to really tell you what I promised I'd tell you in this webinar, but we're out of time. So now you're going to have to buy my program. Again, I just find that kind of cheesy and gimmicky. There's plenty of time because this is not a traditional TV network where someone is having to spend a fortune buying TV time. This is digital. It doesn't really cost any extra. So my philosophy is if people want more, it's there. If they don't, they can stop right there. And maybe that's enough for them to decide, okay, this seems like the guy we want to hire for a day of public speaking training for our CEO or a day of media training for our author client. It may be enough for them to decide, okay, I do want to go to their weekly webinar and get a certificate. And this may be enough to make you decide, I want to do the whole complete online course that includes not just the public speaking, but all the personal development courses. So that's why I'm doing it that way. So I'm going to hit play on this. If there are enough questions or comments, I may respond to you by writing questions back. And by the way, I see Meditation took the course on how to get a TED Talk. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Let us know, have you applied or submitted your name, thrown your name in the hat to speak at a local TEDx? And I'm also interested in knowing who is your favorite TED Talk speaker ever, if you have one, and what specifically motivated you to take that course. So please let us know about that. So I'm going to share right now with you this video. Again, this is not live. This is something that I recorded just a couple of weeks ago, and there is some editing on it. But I would love to know what you like, what you don't like. If you think I'm confusing somewhere, post a comment. If you think it's cheesy or manipulated, post a comment. If you think some of the video graphics, the B-roll is distracting, let me know. If you think the audio somehow is garbled or volume or levels are off, let me know. We haven't launched this yet. This is you being a part of a community right now and essentially being my mini focus group. So I very much appreciate you being here. Oh, Meditation says it's for his son. His son is preparing for a TED Talk right now. Well, great. I would love to have the TED Talk, have him practice right here. Have him do what I'm doing right now, do a rough draft and post it. Barb, the webinar is just shy of 80 minutes. So that's what we're going to watch now. And again, I want feedback. And there may be enough comments on something I stop and we just talk about it for 7 minutes. So I'm not saying I'm going to play it without interruption. But that's what I want to launch into right now. I'm going to share this file. And webinar. You become a better communicator right away. Here's a quick win. Sheet. That's right. If you're nervous about going into a presentation, a talk, a briefing, a speech, you're not quite sure what you're going to say, do what I do. I have a cheat sheet. Everything I'm going to say for the next hour is all right here. Now, the beauty of this is it's a single sheet of paper. If I'm speaking on camera, I can just put it in front of my laptop, in front of my computer. No one sees it. If I'm speaking to a larger audience and perhaps walking around, or even if I'm in a big room in front of a large audience, I can have that one sheet of paper on a table. I can have it on top of a laptop. I can have it scattered out, several copies around the room. No one will see me picking it up. The beauty of it is it's only on one sheet of paper. So that's a quick one you can do right away that will make you so much less nervous because you're not going to have to remember what to say. Chances are your memory isn't any better than mine, and mine's no good. That's why I use a very, very simple cheat sheet. Now, let's go right into a second quick win. The number one way to be confident when you're starting any presentation is to do what I just did. Start with a quick win. Give something of value to your audience, something where they can say, that was useful. That was interesting. I didn't know that. I can use that. Maybe I should listen to this person a little more. That's so much better than the traditional way of starting a speech, where someone kind of walks out, good morning, I'm happy to be here today. Let me tell you about how important I am. Let me tell you about all the wonderful things I can tell you about what I've accomplished. Boring. Rule number one when it comes to communication, nobody really cares about you. People care about themselves. So the faster you can hop right in to telling people something interesting for them, the better. Hi, I'm TJ Walker, and what we're going to do in the next hour or so is go through an actual training to make you a better communicator. We'll work on communication skills together so that you can be better one-on-one, speaking to small groups, business meetings, sitting down on a conference table, but also standing, giving a briefing, a speech, and a talk. And we'll even talk about how you can speak more effectively to the media or in front of a camera. These are skills you're going to learn. I'm TJ Walker. I've been training people just like you all over the globe for about 30 years. I've trained presidents of countries, prime ministers, Nobel Peace Prize winners, professional athletes, and a lot of folks just like you. So here's what we're going to do today, and it's a little bit different. Now, this is a training seminar. It's a live training seminar for me when I'm doing it, but I'm not going to lie to you. One of my concerns in the whole marketing world is there's so much nonsense these days about come to my free training webinar, come to my free live training session, and it's just marketing spin. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. My marketing team's not that happy with me. They said, TJ, if you're going to generate leads and get more people into your sales funnel, you can't actually teach them anything. You have to whet their appetite. You have to sort of poke their pain. You have to do this value stacking where you say, and you get $10 billion worth of stuff today if you act right now in the next 5 minutes for $9.95. Frankly, it's a lot of cheesy stuff I'm not that comfortable with. So I'm going to make a deal with you. I'm going to be transparent on what I'm doing here. And I hope that we really have a fair exchange of value. I'm going to actually give you the same training that I give to paying clients. Really walk you through step by step, not just tease you, tantalize you, throw a shroud over things, and then at the last minute say, oh, but what you really need is behind this curtain, and you can't get it unless you spend $10,000 with me. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to earnestly give you what I feel is great information to help you become a better communicator. And then every 10, 15 minutes or so, I'm going to give you some options for finding out more if you want to go to the advanced level. But my goal here is that you actually improve. You go from wherever you are several steps up in terms of your skill as a communicator. And then if you want to get to an advanced level, or if you want to advance even faster, then you can check out opportunities to work with me and my team. So what are we really going to focus on today? I'm going to help you with the things that you've already told me you're concerned about. Your body language when you're speaking. That's why you can see me from here up, and it's not just a tight little shot. I want to actually show you the things that you can do to look more comfortable and confident, and the things that you shouldn't do so that you don't look nervous and uncomfortable. I'm going to give you tips on how to use your voice in a more powerful way. So many students I work with and clients around the world are insecure and feel like their voice is no good and it's hurting them. We'll focus on that. I'm going to really go through the most common mistakes most people make as speakers. And together we'll come up with specific tips, tricks, and tactics so that you can avoid those mistakes. That's really the goal. Now, the ultimate goal is to help you become a better communicator. What is communication? It's when you have an idea in your head, it comes out of you in some way so that another person or group of people can hear you, understand you, find it interesting and relevant to them, and remember your message so that they can take an action. Whether it is buy a product from you, sign a contract, hire you if you're on a job interview, endorse you, vote for you. Anytime we speak, it's typically because we want people to take a specific action. So that is the underlying assumption of everything we're doing here today, is to really help you accomplish something. Before you worry about the perfect message and the perfect outline and these brilliant ideas, for a lot of folks, it's, oh my gosh, what do I do when I have to stand up in front of people or even sit in a room with my boss and 5 other people? What do I do with my hands? How do I keep from looking stupid? What if I rock awkwardly or fidget? All of these are completely legitimate concerns. Because ultimately we want to communicate a message, but it's never about style versus substance. You always have to have both. I can have the best message in the world, the best tips in the world on public speaking, speech writing, communication. But if I stand here like this for the next hour, giving you fantastic ideas, brilliant ideas, wonderful tactics, the only thing you're going to take away is, boy, oh boy, TJ sure seems nervous and like he has to go to the bathroom. Why? Because you associate someone rocking back and forth with nervous. You associate someone looking down nervous, and someone holding their hands down here as either nervous or uncomfortable or having to go to the bathroom. So that is the message I would be sending. It's not that your visual message is always more important than what you're saying. Is that you need both. Think of it this way. If you had to hire someone to be your assistant and they have the best resume in the world, but they send you a cover letter filled with typos, spelling errors, mistakes, smudged paper, you probably wouldn't hire them, right? On the other hand, if someone had a beautiful cover letter, beautiful punctuation, beautiful spelling, but you looked at their resume, they never worked a day in their life, and there's nothing on their resume that suggests they have the skills you need, the qualifications, and absolutely zero computer skills, you're not going to hire them just because the letter looks pretty, right? So it's always a fake debate between the style of how you move, your body language versus the substance of what you say. If you're going to communicate, you have to have both in sync. Now, you've heard people say, well, just act natural, act natural. Here's why that's horrible advice. When you are speaking, giving a presentation, whether it's a job interview, whether it's a talk to 10 clients, maybe it's 1,000 people in your industry, maybe it's just 2 people, your boss and your boss's boss. If you're a little bit uncomfortable, you're going to, in all likelihood, act natural. The natural thing to do is to act scared. When we're scared, we as human beings stiffen up. We stop moving because we're biologically programmed to want to avoid being seen. Because hundreds of thousands of years ago, if you're out in the savannah and lions and saber-toothed tigers could see you, you're at greater risk. So the logical thing to do is kind of freeze. No one will see you. But if you're doing that in a presentation, a speech, it's going to make you look nervous. It's going to make you look scared. It is not going to help you. So that's why the advice of just act naturally doesn't really help. What you need to do is act the way you do when you're in another environment, when you're comfortable, confident, and relaxed. What I have found in working with 10,000 plus people face to face around the world in 45 countries, and in working with 2 million online students from virtually every country, is that everyone, everywhere, when they're comfortable, they move. Their body moves a little, their hands move, their face moves, their eyebrows move. So what you really want when it comes to your body language is movement. Now, the way to figure this out is to practice with your cell phone. And what I would highly recommend, you'll hear me say this a lot, is if you want to be a better speaker, communicator, presenter, you need to practice what you want to say just on your cell phone, record it on video, and look at it. Chances are the first few times you do that, you're going to think, wow, that person looks a little scared, a little stiff. Now, one area where people get themselves into trouble is they see themselves move a little, or they see their hands move and they think, oh my gosh, that looks horrible. I shouldn't move my hands. That's distracting. So what a lot of people then do to correct it in their mind is they do this, or they grab a lectern, or they hold a pencil. Makes it worse. So be very careful when you are looking at yourself on video, when you're practicing and rehearsing, that you don't overcorrect and make things worse. You actually want your hands to move. That's what will make you come across more comfortable. Now, let's talk about voice. There's something that is very strange that goes on with most people everywhere in the world. When they hear their own voice coming back to them through the speaker, they instantly think, oh, wow, that's awful. That sounds horrible. That doesn't sound like me. I wouldn't want to listen to me. Wow, my voice is uniquely awful. Now I know that I need to really change my voice completely or never, ever speak. That's not the lesson you should take away. Here's what's really going on. We all hear our own voice distorted through the bones in our skull all day long. So when we hear our voice through a speaker coming back to us, it's much less distorted. So it sounds weird to us. It's not our self-image of our own voice. And because of that, it's disorienting. It feels weird. Chances are your voice is perfectly fine. Maybe it's not good enough for Hollywood movie producers to pay you $1 million to make a voiceover ad for their movie. Okay, mine's not that good either. But it's extremely rare. In fact, I've never even had a client with this problem where someone's voice is so awful, so bad, so distracting, it actually impaired their ability to communicate. People were running out of the room to avoid them. That just doesn't happen. So chances are your voice is not so beautiful and memorable and resonant that people pay you millions of dollars, but it's not going to drive people away. That's okay. You've got a voice that is perfectly fine for what you need to do. Here's the number one thing that will help you get comfortable with your voice. It is, back to what I mentioned earlier, it is practicing on video, hearing yourself. The more you get used to hearing your voice, the better off it will sound to you, the more comfortable you'll be with your own voice. Now, let's talk about common mistakes people make. The number one mistake people make with their voice is they speak too softly. They get a little nervous, and when they speak too softly, it brings the volume down, it flattens them out, it makes them sound monotone, and it makes you sound scared. Nobody wants to buy from someone who's scared. Nobody wants to hire someone who's scared. Nobody wants to vote for someone who's scared. So that's the problem with reducing your volume. Now, it's natural. Again, people say just act natural. That's not good advice most of the time. It's not that I want you to be fake and phony, but the natural thing to do when you're out of your comfort zone is to tighten your body, tighten your vocal cords, and your volume goes down. Huge problem. It's harder for people to hear, flattens you out, makes you seem uncomfortable nervous, and less communication takes place, and the wrong communication takes place. So the number one thing you can do with your voice is to not yell and scream, but you do want more energy than normal, a little more volume than normal. Think of it this way. If you're at a crowded, popular restaurant, and you're at a big table, say with 10 or 12 family members and friends, you maybe have an aunt, an uncle on the other side of the table whose hearing isn't quite as good as it once was, and you want to say something. You're just a little more animated. You have a little more energy in your voice, a little more range. You're not acting, but the volume is a little more. The range is a little more. There's a little more expression on your face. Your body, your hands are moving a little more. This is what you want to bring out the best in your voice. So what have we accomplished so far? I hope I've given you a sense that I am operating here in good faith. I've tried to give you some good quick tips on how to start right away by doing things like using a simple outline on a sheet of paper. We've gone over tips of how to improve your voice, how to improve body language. And what I'm not going to do is just tweak you and try to make you feel bad and insecure. I'm not going to do all these typical gimmicks in marketing where, wow, imagine how much money you've lost, millions of dollars, because you're not in my $10,000 public speaking program. I'm not going to do that. I want to continue just trying to help you, give you positive tips on how you can be a better communicator and being transparent, with the hope that some of you, could be 3%, say, okay, this guy really giving me some value, so now I want to hire him to go to the advanced level. Or I got value from him, I'm going to bring him to my company and train all of our top executives. Or I want him to come to our organization, give a keynote speech. So let me just take a minute here, very briefly, and go through the different ways people like you use someone like me. We also have monthly media training workshops for people who really want to advance their skills speaking to the media, whether they are creating their own online shows or being interviewed by the BBC, Al Jazeera, and CNN. These are intensive in-person workshops. We also have virtual day-long public speaking and media training workshops. So for people who do not want to travel or fly, this can be done virtually. We also have a monthly master communicator workshop. It's a 2-day workshop. That's where you come for the public speaking training on one day and the media training on a second day. It's back-to-back days. It's very intensive, and you really leave with a masterclass set of communication skills. Another option we have for people is in-depth live webinars, typically once a month. These are in-depth for a particular subject, whether it is speaking up in the workplace, whether it is how to be a podcast guest. It's going to be a very intensive, small group, live webinar where you get personalized instruction and feedback from an instructor. So these are monthly live webinars, typically about 2 hours long, much less expensive than the in-person trainings, the live trainings, or the private trainings. We also have private media trainings. Either I come to you or someone on my team comes to you. We work with you either one-on-one or small group sessions, recording you, role-playing, simulated media interviews, playing it back again and again and again until you get to the point where I'm not your media role model, you become your own role model. It's very intensive, but it's the best way to learn very quickly. Okay, so again, let me be transparent with you. I just took a minute or so of your time to talk about different ways people interact with me when they either want to learn a lot faster than just self-learning, or they want to get to an advanced level much faster. But I want to stress, you don't have to do any of those things. You can simply continue with me right now, today, and I'm going to walk you through the very same things I do go through when I'm in a live training with someone and you can practice these on your own, you can improve. I don't want to scare you and say, wow, if you don't call me right now, your career is going to be destroyed. You'll never get an advance. I'm not going to do that, even though that's what all the marketing gurus tell me I need to be doing to agitate you to pull out your credit card. Why am I doing this? I really believe more in the long term. I'd rather build a long-term relationship with you. I hope that you're getting value out of this and that you can be a part of what I do right here on the TJ Walker Success channel on virtually any major social media platform. Because here's what happens. I found over time that if you give value long enough, whether it's 6 months, 2 years, sometimes 10 years, people then come back to me. Maybe they start watching something I talk about when they're in college, but then they hire me to train them when they are a CEO 10 years later. Maybe someone's in middle management, they get some tips that help them through a tough job interview today. 5 years later, they hire me to be the keynote speaker at their trade association. So I try to do this in a way that's win-win for everyone, but I'm more interested in the long term, creating long-term relationships, long-term value. So that's why I'm not going to tell you, you have to act now and this offer is going to end if you don't buy in the next 20 minutes. And you're not going to get all these bonuses. There's all these gimmicks people do. And hey, I've tried them too. I just don't feel good about it. And to me, it just doesn't feel authentic. There's a lot of talk these days about being a good communicator, being successful, you need to be authentic. Well, I want to be authentic. I don't want to trick you, manipulate you, create false scarcity with all the gimmicks most people do in training videos and webinar and funnel videos. Instead, I simply want to give you value, help you, teach you things that are going to benefit your career. And then at some point, you want more, you'll know where to find me. So what are the most common mistakes people make when they're trying to present? It's not saying, It's not having hands float around awkwardly. It's not even looking down or rocking and having bad body language. The number one mistake most people make is they just convey way too many data points. They go on and on and on. They don't use enough judgment. This is why I want you to, first of all, ask yourself, what do you really want people to do? Narrow it down to one task. Hire you, vote for you, invest money in you, approve a budget. Really have that clarity. It can't just be, well, I want people to have an overview on everything I do. Nobody needs to know everything you do. If they did, they would have your job. Your job as a communicator is to think about, here's everything I know about what I do. Here's this other person or this group of people, and here's a tiny subset of what I do that they really need to know. That requires discernment. That requires judgment. And so much of what makes most people bad speakers, boring speakers, average speakers is they don't use judgment. They simply throw everything out there. So you should brainstorm on every possible message you could say to an audience, 5, 10, 15, 100, 2,000 message points if you want to. Now you need to apply scrutiny. Now you need to put your messages in priority and eliminate anything that isn't in the top 5. That's right. You should have no more than 5 messages for any speech, presentation, talk, briefing you're doing, unless you're a college professor and everyone is writing down everything you say for an exam. But in the business world, the adult world, the civic world, the professional world, people are not writing down everything you say. That's why it's essential for you to figure out what's most important. Narrow it down to just a handful of ideas. Now, why do I say this? It's because for decades, I've traveled the globe, whether I'm speaking to one person in Serbia or whether I'm speaking to 500 people at a major conference in Los Angeles. I always ask the same question. Think of the best speaker you've seen in the last year in your field, in your career, in your profession. Now, tell me every message you remember from that speaker, the best speaker. What can you think of? And we'll go around the room sometimes. And so often the response is, I don't know, TJ. Everyone in our industry is boring. I don't remember anything they say. Okay. Sometimes people will say, oh yeah, I remember this one speaker and they'll give me one idea. Now, sometimes people say, oh, I remember this guy was really funny and he walked around. No, that's not what I want. I don't care about their humor or their movement. I want to know, what ideas did you actually remember? So sometimes it's one, occasionally two, sometimes someone will remember 3 ideas. Every 3 months, and I often ask this question several times a week, once every 3 months, someone will remember 4 ideas from the best speaker they've ever seen, maybe in their life. And then once every 6 months, someone will say, oh yeah, I remember this speaker, and they'll list 5 ideas. And it was often the best speaker they've ever seen in their life. In all the years I've asked that question, nobody has ever come up with more than 5 ideas they remember from their best speaker. I want you to think about that right now. Really think about the best speaker you've seen in your own. I don't mean a professional comedian or professional politician, but someone in your field, in your industry, where you heard them once and you remember it. Not your CEO or colleague who speaks to you every day and over time you remember a bunch, but I mean from one presentation. Pretty hard to even come up with more than 2 or 3, isn't it? Well, ask yourself this. Do you really think that the average person you speak to is so much smarter than you are? Do you really think they have a memory so much better than yours? No, they don't. So don't try to force them to do something that you're not good at, because you probably don't remember more than a handful. So that is one of the most important things you can ever do to be a better speaker. It really is a situation where less is more. Focus on just a handful of points or fewer, and you will instantly be a better communicator. It takes off all the pressure, because you're not all of a sudden trying to remember all this stuff and rat-a-tat-tat and speak quickly and, oh my gosh, there's another bullet point and another slide I got to go through. You're no longer playing that game. You're playing a different game of making your ideas really come alive to your audience. Okay, so you've figured out what you want to accomplish in the speech, what you want the audience to do. You brainstorm on ideas. Now you've narrowed it down to the top 5. What do? Put it on a 3x5 card and throw it at them and walk away? Well, no, that's not going to do anything. Now you've got to breathe life into these messages. The number one way to do it is by illustrating every key point with a story. You can give examples. You can give case studies. If you're going to use PowerPoint, you can have images. But the number one way to really make any point come alive is to tell a story that involves a real person, a real problem, a real place, a conflict, real dialogue, what was said, and how it was resolved. That's the number one way to get people to remember. I wish we could just take the facts, put it on a stick, go and put it in people's heads, and they've got all the data, and we can go home. I wish we could do that. That's not how people actually absorb information. One of the advantages of stories is they can help you in times when you're nervous, because if you speak long enough, you're going to occasionally have something that takes you out of your comfort zone. I remember the most uncomfortable presentation I ever had. It was more than 30 years ago. I was on a talk show in South Florida. It was a talk radio show. And I'll never forget, I walked into the studio and the seat is really low. I'm sitting down in this little chair like a little boy. The host is looking over me sort of in a very imposing way. He asked me a question. I start to answer and he interrupts me. He says, TJ, I have more respect for a Klansman than I do for you. We were talking about politics and I set him off somehow. And I said, but now, Mr. Kane, what I really think, before I could say anything else, the host reaches under the table, pulls out a gun and points it at me. Now, it's talk radio in South Florida. Palm trees are around. No one can see me. He says, now do you see my point, Mr. Walker? And all of a sudden, you know what came out of my mouth? Absolutely nothing. I froze. I sort of panicked. Nothing good came out of my mouth. But eventually I stammered something. The interview sort of continued. I got out of there. Now, did I let that one awful interview, and it was an awful interview, did I let that scare me away from ever going on TV shows, radio shows again? No. In fact, I went back to that radio station 2 weeks later and guest hosted for another host. Now, I still stayed away from the host who interviewed me. I still think he's crazy, but I didn't let it slow me down because I have a passion for speaking, communicating, helping other people do it. And just because it's one bad interview, no one remembers. No one else really cares. Okay, so what did I really do there? I told a story. I just had one idea I wanted to convey. I wanted you to know that, okay, your trainer, your instructor isn't perfect. He's not great all the time. This is a learned skill, and that I have a passion for communicating. I don't let one bad thing try to dissuade me from ever doing it. It's really just one idea to give you a little better sense of who I am. I told a story. This story had a character, me. It had another character, the talk show host. It had a problem. There was a gun in my face. It had emotion. I was fearful and scared. It had a setting. It was a talk radio host, Florida, palm trees. It had a resolution. I didn't get shot, and I actually went back. So is it a great story? Is it going to win a Pulitzer Prize? No, but it's a true story. And it works because I've told that story to people the first day of a training. And sometimes I bump into them 5, 10 years later. They say, hey, TJ, had any guns pulled on you lately? It works because it remembers, and they remember the point that I wasn't someone just born naturally glib and articulate all the time, but that I can work through it and not let one bad presentation scare me off. So it works at that level. I would recommend that you give a lot of thought to any message you want to convey. It doesn't have to be as dramatic as someone pulling a gun on you, but you do need to make it interesting. Now, you may say, well, TJ, I just give weekly reports on total sales for our 282 donut shops around the country. There's nothing that dramatic. Okay. But here's the thing, not all data are equal. Some data points are more important than others. So if all of a sudden there's a huge spike in a couple of stores because it's a new product, tell people about the product. Tell people about the reaction of some of the customers. Make it come alive. Where people get confused on stories is they think they have to be a generic motivational speaker and start talking about, there was the starfish and I looked down and there were only 2 steps instead of 4. They think they're going to have to give some cheesy, generic, motivational story. No, all you have to do is recount a real conversation about a real problem with a colleague, a customer, a prospect, a fellow student, where you were and how it was resolved. And make sure it's something that would be interesting and relevant to the audience. If you do that, you'll be in great shape. Here's the thing. You can say, well, TJ, I'm not a natural born storyteller. Wrong. All human beings tell stories all the time. If it's Monday morning and you go into work or you go to class and someone says, how was your weekend? You don't say, well, at 6:01, I woke up Saturday morning. At 6:02, I got coffee. At 6:03, I went to the bathroom. No. And yet that's how so many people get speeches and boring PowerPoint presentations, is this linear way of fact after fact. If someone said, how's your weekend? You're likely to talk about the most interesting thing, good or bad, that happened. Oh my God, I was going to Miami and I thought I could get there in an hour and I-95 shut down. It was an absolute parking lot. We just sat there in the car and didn't move for 20 minutes. It was excruciating. And my family's yelling at me and I'm yelling at them. What did I just do there? I told a story. Is it an interesting story? No, but it had the story elements. It might be perfectly appropriate if I just bumped into a friend Monday morning at Starbucks, because I told a story involved characters, place, setting, problem, emotion, resolution. That's all a story is. So you already tell stories. You've got to figure out when you're communicating the right story that is relevant to your audience. But if you say, well, TJ, I can't think of any story at all about this message, then you got to ask yourself, is this really an important message? Do you really have to spend time with this audience talking about this message if you've never talked to anyone in real life about it? If it's never come up anywhere, if there's never been a problem related to this, is it truly a message that is so important that you need to take people's time? Typically, the answer is no. Remember, You're being judged not by how many facts come out of your mouth, but by how many facts go in people's brains and are remembered. If people don't remember what you're saying, you haven't accomplished anything. I could speak to you right now in Swahili, but if you don't understand Swahili, I don't get any credit for speaking Swahili because I haven't helped you in any way whatsoever. If you are just giving people fact after fact after fact, and you're doing it in a way where they can't remember it, you might as well be speaking a foreign language to them. Nothing good is actually happening. Okay, let's talk about PowerPoint now. I love PowerPoint. PowerPoint is great. Some of my best friends are PowerPoint, but let's be real. The problem with 99% of PowerPoints is they're so boring, they put people to sleep. It's not the fault of the PowerPoint, it's how we use it. There's a lot of boring television these days. You can go to channel 133 on cable, and all it does is list the school lunches from last week. That's boring. But if you love watching World Cup soccer and you can't be at the soccer game, watching World Cup soccer on your television is great TV. So the problem is not the medium. Television isn't boring or interesting. It's what you put on TV. PowerPoint is not boring or interesting. It's what you put on PowerPoint. The number one problem most people have with their PowerPoint is they're just putting bullet points in text. They're using it as the poor person's teleprompter. Well, I've got an amazing high-tech invention that is a much better way for you to store data so you remember what to say. You won't have to use the PowerPoint slide, projecting it in front of everyone to remind you of what to say. I've got an invention. It's very sophisticated. It's very expensive. So get your credit card out and your checkbook out. Here's the invention that keeps me from never, ever, ever forgetting what to say when I'm giving a presentation. It's called a 1-cent sheet of paper. Everything I'm saying to you during our session here, it's because I've got a little reminder right here. It's a single sheet of paper, and it costs you nothing, or you probably already have a sheet of paper around the house, so you don't have to spend money on me or anyone else. Use a sheet of paper. The beauty of paper is nobody has to see it. Because this is one sheet of paper, other than to make my point, I normally would never pick it up. You would be under the illusion that I'm just speaking to you for an hour because you're not going to see me touch the paper. So if you're going to use PowerPoint, use it the way that Steve Jobs did. For example, they call theirs Keynote at Apple, but it's the same thing. Computer-driven slides projected during a presentation. Put an image up. When he wanted to convey what he was creating for an iPhone, he said, well, you know what this is? And he had a cell phone. He says, you know what this was? An iPod. What are we doing here today? And he merged the two images together for the iPhone. That's many, many, many years ago, but I can still remember it. Chances are you can too. And yet a PowerPoint presentation I might have seen yesterday or that you might have seen this morning is instantly forgotten because words are abstractions. The human memory can understand abstractions. It doesn't remember abstractions. What humans remember are really two things, images and stories. That's why I just spent a lot of time telling you, please tell stories for all your main points. And if you're going to use PowerPoint, one image per slide. And I don't mean an image of a triangle with 3 words on it. That's cheating. It's still word-based. Now, if you want to convey a lot of words to people, you want to give people words, by all means, give them words, but email it to people. Give them a handout. Give them a URL to go to. But do not stand up in front of people and just read a whole bunch of words. I like words. I've written books. In fact, I've written half a dozen books, but I'm not going to get up here today and just start reading chapter after chapter, sentence after chapter for a book. It's a good book to read, but that's not the way you actually convey information to people when you are speaking to them. We also have live in-person presentation skills workshop. Either I come to you or someone from my team comes to you. We work very intently, one-on-one, or in a small group setting, you get on camera not 1 or 2 or 3 times, but typically 10 or 15 times in a day. The ultimate goal is for you to get to the point where I'm not your role model. No one else is your role model but you. You're looking at a video of yourself speaking, saying, wow, I wish I could be that good all the time. I would be a superstar in my industry. That is the result of the in-person private trainings. Again, these are one-on-one trainings. These can be small group trainings. Everything I'm talking about is listed in detail on the page that you're watching this on right now, or in the description of this video that you're watching right now. So you can click to find more information there. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the single most important thing you can do to become a great communicator. It's easy, it costs nothing, but emotionally it's the hardest thing to do. And I am sympathetic to that. This is frankly why a lot of people, and a subset of people watching today, maybe even you, call me up or come to one of my workshops or hire me for private training or engage with me in a specific way because you don't want to do this on your own. I'm talking about rehearsal. The single easiest way to go from an average communicator or below average communicator is to rehearse your presentation and just use a cell phone or a webcam. You want to record your presentation, look at it. Oh, TJ, I don't want to do that. I don't like my face. I don't like my voice. I get it. No one else cares. No one cares that you don't like your voice or some aspect of your body. They just don't, because if you're speaking, they have to watch you. They have to listen to you. They just want some idea that's interesting and useful to them. Imagine if you're my high school English teacher and you assign me an essay and I just say, well, I'm not going to write it out. I'm going to dictate it and I'll just email you the audio file. Well, TJ, why are you going to do that? It's a written essay. I want you to write it, edit it, make sure the punctuation, grammar is great. Oh, but I don't like to look at my own writing. It makes me uncomfortable. So I'm just going to dictate it and send it to you. If you're my teacher, you'd probably say, I don't care what you want. You've got to write something and you've got to polish it up to make it look good. Otherwise, you get an F. I hope that's what you'd say. Well, that's essentially what's going on with so many of us with our presentations. We may spend hours and hours and hours, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, thinking of ideas, writing a speech, writing PowerPoint, rewriting PowerPoint, editing the PowerPoint, but we never actually rehearse. So the first time we ever give it is in front of the live audience. And it's also the last time, which means our first draft is our rough draft and it's our final draft. So there's no way of improving it. If you really want to go from average, below average to great, do this one thing. I promise you, it will make you a dramatically better speaker. Here's the reaction most people get when they watch a video of their speech. I see it every month, every week, sometimes every day in a week. People turn to me after watching their own presentation and say, oh God, that was awful. That was really boring. I wouldn't want to watch that. What do you think, TJ? And then I have to say to them, well, look, you seem like a pretty smart person. If you think it was really boring, guess what? It was. So will your audience think that. So the answer is not to never look at your rehearsal. The answer is to redo the speech until you find it interesting. That is the solution. Not just saying, well, this is the speech we've worked on and it's been signed off and it's been approved and everyone's approved it, so it's too late to change. You can't have that attitude. Your audience doesn't care. You are not ever ready to give a speech until you have rehearsed on video and to the point where you like it and say, that's exactly how I want to come across. That's the best I can do. I think that's going to work on my audience. There's nothing I'm saying to you today that I haven't said before on video and watched it. I assure you. Doesn't mean you're going to love every second I say, but it does give me the confidence in knowing this is what I want to say. This is how I want to say it. I remember once about 20 years ago, I was working in a small Eastern European country for the very first time. I was working with a prime minister, and his staff said, TJ, whatever you do, don't change the speech. We've worked on it for months. We were in a former dictator's palace. This was a democratically elected prime minister, but I'm in this palace. We're surrounded by armed guards with machine guns. It's me, the prime minister, a couple of his staff members. And he says, TJ, do you mind if I practice my speech in my native Slovenian? I said, sure. He stood up, read his speech. I video recorded it. We watched it. He was reading the whole time with his head down. We watched it. He turned to me and said, well, TJ, what did you think? And I felt a little awkward. It was my first time in this part of the world. Cold War hadn't been over that long. It's just me and this guy and a whole bunch of guys with machine guns. So I felt like saying it was awful. It was really boring, but I was a little nervous. Finally, I said, you know what? He's paid me a bunch of money to be here. I'll give him an honest assessment. I said, Mr. Prime Minister, with all due respect, I don't know what you said, but I thought it was really boring. His eyes got big. He sort of glowered at me. He looked at his guys with machine guns. He looked back at the TV set and said, you're right. It is really boring. I wouldn't want to watch me. So with that, he took the speech, we ripped it up, threw it in the trash can, and started over. But this time we did it the easy way. I said, okay, let's step back. You're giving this presentation to your cabinet. It's an important speech. What do you really want to convey here? What do you want them to do? We wrote that down in a sentence. I said, okay, now let's brainstorm on ideas, but then we got to narrow it down to just 5 ideas. We did that, and it only took about 10 minutes. And then I said, okay, now I want you to give me a story or an example or both for each one of these 5 message points. He came up with that, wrote a couple of words underneath each message point, had a single sheet of paper, just handwritten on a simple notepad. He said, can I do another practice? I said, okay. He stood up. I turned my camera on. This time, since it was only a single sheet of paper, he was looking up. He was looking at me. He was looking at other people in the audience. He was looking at guards. His face came alive. His energy came alive. His volume came alive. We recorded it. We watched it. As soon as he was done, he jumped up. He gave me a big hug. Said, TJ, you made me a great speaker. I said, well, no, it wasn't me. That's how you actually speak. You're naturally good. What happens is when you try to do this artificial data dump and read, it makes anyone into an awful speaker. So I beg you, I plead with you, don't try to read a speech. It's so much harder to do. And it actually takes more time to practice and rehearse than working from a simple outline. By the way, did you see what I just did there? I made a point by telling a story. The story had a character, me, had another character, the prime minister, had a setting, castle, palace, Eastern Europe, had a problem, boring speaker reading, had a little conflict. Again, this time, machine guns still. They don't always involve guns. Had a resolution, had basically a happy ending, had a lesson for it. So storytelling is not something you do once in a speech. Storytelling is not something you do just because you want to be a motivational speaker. It's really a part of the grammar of good communication. You want to communicate something, you can state the message in a straightforward way, and then illustrate it with examples and stories. And stories are examples. They're simply the most compelling, interesting, memorable type of example. That's what's key. Mo's with us live and says, TJ, how long should be the storytelling part within a speech? Well, no, it depends on the context. If you're giving a 10-minute speech, maybe you give a couple 2-minute stories. If you're an hour-long keynote speaker, then maybe you have several one for every major message point. You might have 5 stories that each are 6 or 7 minutes long. It just depends. The key with a story is when someone's listening to it, they've got to understand it. They've got to see the relevance to it, and they've got to understand the point to them. Here's something you'll never hear. You'll never be at a conference or a big seminar and have people leaving saying, I hated the way that last speaker gave us so many interesting, relevant stories that have an impact on my career or life. You'll never hear that. What you do hear is, my gosh, that speaker was so incredibly boring. I wish they had just emailed us the document and we could have stayed home. Or they'll say, wow, I'm glad that speaker was so boring and allowed me to really catch up on email and send off some important messages. So that's the problem. Is it possible to go too long with a story? It's possible. But typically that means you're giving details that aren't interesting or relevant to the audience. Is it possible a story could alienate part of your audience? It's certainly possible. But typically that means you didn't really think about what's the message first. We don't want to tell stories to be storytellers. We want to tell stories because it's the single most effective, efficient way of making an idea come alive in the mind and memory of an audience member and getting them to retain it. That's why it's important. And Mo, thanks for asking the question. What did I just do there? I'm giving a presentation. This is a seminar, a webinar, and Mo interrupted my speech with a question. Well, guess what? This isn't my speech. This isn't my webinar. This isn't my presentation. It's yours. It's Mo. So I do actually recommend when you're giving a presentation, whether it's a one-on-one conversation or a job interview, obvious there, but really anytime you're speaking to 10, 20, 30 people, someone has a question, let them ask it right away. It might take you in a slightly different direction from where you were, from your outline. That's okay, because now you know if you're answering that question, you're 100% interesting and relevant to that person. And what they're asking may be more top of mind of what other people are thinking than what you had planned. It also, frankly, makes it more interesting. It makes it interactive. It makes it more of a dialogue, a conversation, rather than just a monologue. So if you have an opportunity to speak, don't be one of these people who says, well, let's hold all questions till the end. It sounds pompous. It sounds like you're, head of state or something. And I really don't like people who say, well, write all your questions down. Most people don't want to write a question down. Just let it come up naturally. Of course, there are exceptions where if you have an exact specific 10-minute time limit, or if you're giving a keynote speech and you have just a half an hour in front of 3,000 people and someone starts asking a question and you have to repeat the whole question, okay, you can't necessarily do that 2 minutes into your presentation. But most of the time, for most people, if you're talking to 20 people or fewer, it's pretty easy to look that someone has their hand up or just blurts out a question. My advice, answer it right away. Key things to know about rehearsing. Yes, you need to do it on video. Your cell phone is fine. A webcam is fine. Can you do it with a mirror? No, a horrible idea to practice in front of a mirror. Because if you're practicing your speech in front of a mirror, there's a part of you that's going to be saying, oh, is there a dent in my nose? Am I losing more hair? It's just human nature. And you can't do two things at once. We all like to think we're great multitaskers. We're not. You can give your speech or you can analyze your speech. You cannot do both at the same time. If you're looking in a mirror, the second you made a mistake or did something, well, it's gone. If you record yourself on video, now you no longer have to think about giving the speech. You can simply watch your presentation and really analyze what's working, what's not working. That part went well, and how can I do more of it? Or, wow, my voice really faded there and I sound scared. Let me not do that. Now, you've heard people give tips before on, oh, you should practice your speech on video. Here's the thing, just hearing that advice doesn't help. And in fact, if you do it the wrong way, it can make you worse. If you practice your speech once and then you watch it and stop every 2 seconds critiquing 100 things you don't like, you can spend 3 hours critiquing it. At the end, intellectually, you'll feel like you've learned a lot. Emotionally, you'll feel like, oh my God, I'm a horrible speaker. I should never speak. That is not the way you want to rehearse. My recommendation is you record it, you watch it, and you try to focus the first time on what you like. Try to do more of it. Don't obsess over the occasional or or wow, I scratched my face and I wish I hadn't. Don't obsess over that. Instead, you want to look at it as a process, an editing, refining process. So look at it once, figure out what you like, do it again, try to do more of what you like. Second time, figure out what you like, do more of it. Now focus on one thing you don't like, try to correct it. Focus on things you can correct. If I'm watching a video of this and I feel like my voice is too low, I can boost the volume. If I look at a video of this and I think, wow, my hair doesn't look as good as it did 30 years ago, there's nothing I can do about that. And nobody else cares about my hair. So I should not waste time thinking about irrelevant stuff. You want to focus on things you can actually control. Now, here is the magic moment when it comes to rehearsing on video. You want to look at it, figure out what you like, do more of that, less of what you don't like, do it again. Keep doing it again and again until you get to the point where you like the video, where you think, wow, this person's pretty interesting. I would listen to this person if it weren't me. That's a magical moment, because when you get to the point when you like your own speech, it becomes virtually impossible to be nervous. If you know in advance you're going to be interesting, you're going to look comfortable, you're going to look confident, it's really hard to be nervous. If you're going out with your best friends on a Saturday night to your favorite restaurant or favorite pub to watch your favorite game, and you're going to be talking to your friends all night, it's really hard to be nervous about talking to your friends, right? You might be nervous about the outcome of the big game, but talking to your friends is easy and it's fun because you don't have to worry at all about whether you're going to be interesting or coming across natural or relaxed, because you already know how you're going to come across. It's exactly the same for any speech presentation, boardroom briefing, or even media interview. You'll know you're confident because you'll have seen the results in advance because you've practiced on video. Now, I wish I could tell you, well, if it's a 10-minute speech, you've got to practice 3 times of 2 minutes and that's it. It's not a precise mathematical formula. What is precise is that if you just keep doing it till you like it, you're going to be so much better when you're giving the presentation. Now, for some people, it's 2 practices. For some, it's 20. Not that long ago, I worked with a very, very busy CEO. His staff said, he's not going to have much time to prepare. Billionaire, employees, vendors all over the world. He came in for the day of training with me and said, TJ, I practiced my video 132 times, but I've already learned so much. It took him 132 times until he got to the point where he felt he was coming across his best. Now, full disclosure, this is frankly why a lot of people hire me for a day, hire team members of mine to either come, do private workshops, one-on-one workshops, full day workshops. Is because most people simply are not going to record themselves and look at themselves objectively again and again and again. You could do it, but that is why people hire me. That is why people come to our paid live webinars and our paid online training Zoom sessions and our paid in-person sessions. So if you're interested in that, or you feel like you are not certain you can really do this rehearsal on your own, I am here for you. So you can take a look at the links in the description of this page. You can take a look at the links on the page where you're watching this video, and you'll see a lot of options on how to specifically work with me or a member of my team for this hand holding part. And do keep in mind, this is where most people are outside of their comfort zone. And that's why it's nice to have someone essentially holding your hand through this process. Because here's what I found. Most people, when watching video of themselves, misdiagnose in 3 areas. Number one, when their hands are moving naturally, they think, oh my God, I look like an idiot. I better stop moving my hands. They overcorrect and make things worse. The next thing where people just universally misjudge is they see their head moving as it should, and they think, oh my gosh, I look like a bobblehead. I look crazy. I better stop that. And they freeze their head to try to look professional. And now they look scared, stiff, and nervous. The third thing where people misdiagnose is their voice. They're convinced their voice is no good. And then they'll try to artificially do things like talk lower to sound more authoritative. And that just makes you sound phony, uncomfortable. Typically, it will make you monotone if you're trying to talk down here. It makes you monotone and boring, plus artificial. So that is one of the reasons why people, frankly, work with a professional public speaking coach, communications coach, whether it's me or someone else, is guiding them through that, because it's very easy to misdiagnose yourself when it comes to watching yourself on video. Additionally, we have a Master Communicator on Demand course. This course has all of my best hits, all of the top courses you see anywhere online. This brings them together. You get the Master Communicator Kit plus more than 150 courses of mine that are highly specialized in every aspect of communication and personal development. Okay, so you have practiced on video. You're happy with how you're coming across. You think, wow, I look good. I sound good. That's my message. My stories are great. I'm in great shape. What more could I possibly do? I'm ready to go. Well, time out. There is one more thing you could do, and that is to test. Now, I'm not saying you want to test every presentation you ever do. If you're talking to one colleague at lunch today about a project you're working on, I'm not suggesting you rehearse till 3 a.m. and then test out sample videos. But for certain presentations that are more important than others, I do recommend you actually test. If it's a really important job interview, if you're giving a presentation to a board of directors where you're trying to get significant budget approval for a new project, if you are speaking to a room full of venture capitalists because you're asking them to give you $3 billion for your artificial intelligence startup, those are high stakes presentations. So I would recommend you don't simply rehearse, but you test. What do I mean by testing? People say, well, TJ, public speaking, it's a soft skill. It's not something you can test like chemistry and physics and mathematics. Well, wrong. You can test your presentation and your presentation skills. Let's say you are giving a speech to a room full of venture capitalists on Thursday. You've prepared your presentation, you've rehearsed it, you've looked at it on video, you like it. There's another step you can go. Find one friend who's also a venture capitalist, maybe someone who's already invested with you, but ideally someone who has the same knowledge of your business as the venture capitalist you're going to be speaking to on Thursday. Now that you've practiced and refined your speech a whole lot, send them that video on Tuesday and say, please tell me, what do you remember from this speech? What do you take away? Don't say, how'd I do? They're going to say, oh, you did great. You're wonderful. You're fine. That's not valuable feedback. What you want to do is ask someone who heard you once to tell you what messages they remember, what stories do they remember. That's what's valuable. And if they just say, well, everything you did was great and it was fine and well done, you're really professional, that means you flunked. You didn't actually communicate the messages you cared about the most. So you've got to go back to the drawing board. You've got to come up with new material, new examples, stronger stories, clearer messaging until one or more people you test it in front of can throw back in your face the messages you really care about. Because what you really want to give you confidence going into any major presentation is knowing not only do you like it, not only do you think it's great, because sometimes we're too close to the whole thing. You want to know that someone else who has the same mindset, the same or similar knowledge base to the people you'll be speaking to in real life, could hear you once and get it. Of course, you want them to have a strong impression of you and think you're confident and professional and all of that. But what you really want is for them to have a clear sense of the ideas you're bringing, the value you're bringing, and what you want them to do. Because I'm telling you, if you practice and you test your material and you have someone who maybe you know is a straight shooter and they're not afraid to criticize you, if they are telling you the messages you really wanted to convey, you know it worked. People can lie and say, oh, you were great, if they actually think you were weak and nervous and uncomfortable to build you up maybe. But they can't lie and tell you your messages if they really didn't get it. So that's the ultimate in meaningful feedback. And that is how you test for big, important, high-stakes presentations. One thing I hear from people all the time is, TJ, I'm really comfortable speaking to small groups, speaking one-on-one, speaking in the boardroom, but wow, I got to do a TV interview later today, and I'm a nervous wreck. It seems strange. It seems alien. Well, it is different speaking to the news media where there's a journalist, a talk show host, a reporter, putting a mic in front of your face, putting a light in front of your face, having a camera that's not yours. It feels scarier. And again, the number one problem people have is they tense up, they stiffen up. The other problem is when you're speaking to the media, it's not that they're all out to get you. But not only can what you say be taken out of context, by definition, if they're quoting you for a newspaper or online story, if they're pulling a soundbite for a radio or a podcast interview or a TV or video-based program, by definition, they have to quote you out of context, out of the context of the entire interview, of the entire conversation. That changes everything. So when I train people on how to speak to the media, I really have to coach them how to think not in terms of how does this answer sound to someone who heard the whole conversation and the whole answer, but you really have to build a mindset where every sentence out of your mouth, you're holding up to the light, thinking, how would someone interpret this if nothing before the sentence is seen and nothing after the sentence is seen? Every sentence out of your mouth has to look good standing on its own. So that's what makes dealing with the media so much more difficult. Most quotes come from a handful of speech patterns. They either have analogies in them, bold action words, cliches, humor, attacks, where so many people, whether it's CEOs, business leaders, or politicians, get into trouble, is they accidentally use emotion and attacks on something that wasn't really their main point. So if you're interviewing me and I'm telling you all these things about how great business has been the last 3 years, all the wonderful things that go on, and you throw a question, say, well, did you feel a little nervous right when the pandemic hit and regular trainings went down? If I said something like, well, of course I lost sleep at night worrying about how my business tanked for a few months, and then I go on to talk positively for the next hour, guess what the only quote in the story might be? Of course, I lost sleep at night. Absolute. Lost sleep at night is action-oriented. It's a cliche. It's emotion about how my business tanked. It's an attack. I attacked my own business. It's emotional. It's action-oriented. So in that 1.5 sentences, I used about 8 soundbite elements, all of them negative towards me and my business. So if I get quoted with a profile on my business using that quote. Was I misquoted? Well, no, I actually said it. You have footage of it. Was I quoted out of context? Well, yes, I was quoted out of context, but every quote is out of context. You can't complain about being quoted out of context. You can complain, nobody cares. So if I don't want that to be a quote in the story, the solution is control my own mouth. So when I teach people and my colleagues conduct media training, we really teach people how to control the one thing they can control, not the interview, not the reporter, not the setting, but our own mouths. It's our own mouths that get us into trouble. The other thing that's a little different about media training is you have to look at a camera quite often. Or if there's a journalist interviewing you, you need to ignore the camera and look at the journalist. It's a little bit different than if you're just in front of your own webcam. But that's an example of things you need to learn if you want to be good at the media. And again, today, the easiest thing is to practice on video. If you want to become a YouTube star or have a video podcast, just practice, record it on video, upload it, look at it, get feedback from others. Okay, I told you this was going to be different from the typical webinar that's really just trying to scare you and then shake you till your credit card comes out and gets your money. And I do mean that. I want to genuinely help you with the idea, full transparency, that whether it's 1 out of 100 who watch this or 1 out of 1,000, some of you are going to want to go to a higher level, an expert level, hire me or my team for a day of training or for a keynote or for a Zoom training session. So that is, in fact, why I am doing that. But I want to give you even more. I've talked about testing. I've asked you to record yourself practicing on video until you like it. We talked about taking it to the next level, sending it to a colleague, someone similar to the audience you're speaking to get feedback from them on what messages they remember. But I'll even go further. If you post a link to your video in the comments section of this video, I'll watch it and I'll critique it and I won't charge you anything. In full disclosure, people pay from $10,000, $20,000 a day for my time for personalized training. But I'm going to give this to you to give you a little taste of how this works. Also, I want to nudge you a little to get you to the point where you're not afraid to show yourself to the world, because for most people, it's scary. It's much easier to sort of sit back, watch old TJ here, go to an online course, read another book on speaking, and never actually speak and put your speaking out to the world. So I want to nudge a few of you along. I have to confess, even in my own students who pay for my courses, the online on-demand courses, only about 1% of students actually record themselves on video and submit it for me to look at. Everyone else stays in the shadows, which unfortunately is not the best place to learn. So I'm going to toss that out to you. There's no charge. You're not obligated. You're not going to get a credit card receipt saying you've got to pay. All you have to do is record yourself speaking, upload it to YouTube or Google Drive or Dropbox, anywhere. If you post a link and I can see it, I will watch it and give you detailed feedback. Additionally, I am available as a keynote speaker. Many organizations around the world are really trying to build in their employees, their colleagues, their community, a sense of importance in communication regularly, in person, to colleagues, employees, prospects, vendors, and the larger community that cares about their industry. So they'll bring me in to give a keynote speech on that. If you're interested in more information on that, then please click the link below, either on this page or in the description. I want to thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you have a much better sense of how to be a strong, confident communicator. I want you going into any meeting, any presentation, any job interview, any pitch for new venture capital with the confidence that you're going to come across your best. It doesn't mean you're going to get what you want every time. Nobody does. It doesn't mean you'll get every job offer or every investor will throw money at you. But I want you to get to the point where you feel confident that you're coming across your best. If you had a colleague say, I need a one-page memo sent to this client a week from today on a subject you've been working on, that wouldn't really make you nervous or uncomfortable. You might not want to do it, but you would do it. You would write a draft. You might get feedback from other colleagues. You would run it through spell check. You would edit it. You'd maybe have one other colleague look at it before you hit send. By the time you hit send, you're not thinking, oh gosh, I wonder if it's spelled correctly. I wonder if they can understand it. I wonder if that makes sense. No, you have an editing process, a step-by-step process to help you communicate effectively when you're sending text. I hope what we've done today is I've given you a better sense of a step-by-step process of how you can edit yourself, refine yourself, improve yourself, and come across your very best every single time you're speaking to someone, whether it's one person, 5 people, 500, 5,000, or the whole world through the media. So I want to thank you for your time. Hope you got a lot out of it. If I can help you, reach out to me. Again, I've tried to do this very differently. In most sales funnel videos, training sessions, webinars, this is the part where I say, wow, you've got 24 hours to buy this thing. And if you don't act now, you've ruined your career and you're missing out on $1 million worth of products that today are only $99 because you got all these extra bonus. That's what normally happens here. And I just have to be honest with you. I've shared this with you earlier. To me, it feels a little cheesy. And to me, it doesn't feel authentic. It is a better way of making short-term cash. I'm in this for the long term. I've been training people professionally how to be better communicators since the mid-1980s. And I'm hoping to be around another 40 years or at least another 30 years. So I'm trying to lay groundwork for the long-term relationships. So perhaps you get value today and you don't need services from someone like me for 5 or 10 or 15 years. That's okay. I hope to be here for you. I'm TJ Walker, and I'm wishing you complete confidence and success in all your communication. Thanks. Okay, thanks so much for watching that. I was just starting to talk and I had my microphone off. So sorry about that. What we just watched is a masterclass training program I've created that's also a part of a sales tool. It's also part of a sales funnel. It's a webinar designed to help people improve their communication skills, but also to sell my products and services. Now, I try to do it in a way that I thought was authentic to me, something I felt good about, something that didn't have the typical hype gimmickry of a lot of sales webinars. Time will tell. That was the first time I've ever seen it. I mean, I was there obviously making it, but that's the first time I've seen it. So I want to appreciate a number of you gave me great feedback on, I guess we have some audio level issues, some problems with the music. We're going to try to correct that. My colleague Ben is with us and other editors will be taking a look at that. If you have other suggestions on how to make it better, we'd love to hear from you, because here's what we're going to do with this video. We're going to post it right here on my YouTube channel, number one. We're going to be promoting it in all future social media videos. So when you see a YouTube short or a TikTok short, at the end of it, it's going to say, go to free masterclass here. And by the way, Ben, I think I want to use the term masterclass. Sounds classy, I guess. But we're going to be promoting people to watch this video, and we'll be sending them to a page at tjwalker.com. And that way we can capture emails and figure out a way of communicating with people on a regular basis that is helpful, soft sell, isn't that, my gosh, you got to order this $5,000 product right now in the next 10 seconds, or your life is over and we're giving you 10 billions of dollars worth of stuff and it'll just disappear. Not going to have that stuff. So Meditation Kid says, sounds good. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, we had several people come on today after we started that, and some of them had to go. Major events going on around the world today, the major cultural celebrations and festivities going on. We do appreciate people who spend any part of their time coming in to join us live today. Now, Andrew Karanha has joined us. And Andrew, if you're still with us, feel free to connect. Now, Ben, if you don't mind just posting the link to StreamYard again so people who've come in and are looking at it can find that easily. So if you want to join me live, you can do so. We also have some people who've posted videos who've asked that they be critiqued. By the way, before we leave today, I am going to be making some Amazon influencer videos for you, to demonstrate for you, for me, because these are videos that will actually go right onto Amazon and people around the world can see them. And then if they click from my video to purchase it, I get a commission. So you may have heard a lot of people talk about certainly the influencer culture today and influencers everywhere. You may have heard people talk about specifically the Amazon influencer program. That's what I'll be talking about, and not just talking about it, and not just demonstrating things, but showing you what I actually do to make these videos, soup to nuts, every step of the way, to demystify this process. The goal of helping you figure out if you want to do it and how to do it. Okay. All right. So Tick has posted his video. I don't know if he's still with us, but we've had another comment come in. Oh, Meditation Kid says, wish you a good success with the masterclass. Well, thanks so much. I do appreciate it. I got to tell you, my own reaction watching it is I liked it. I mean, this is the sort of thing that I give people in my courses, which they like. This is the sort of thing I do in real life when I'm training people face-to-face, one-on-one, small group shops, small workshops that I know actually works. And that's the first time I've seen it in this studio with these cameras, with this mic. And it's not the only thing, the video production quality, but I do think it is better to have higher production costs. So that's the first time I've seen a lot of that content with this really expensive studio and high-end cameras and microphones. And I personally was pleased. So let's go to Andrew. Andrew says, hey, TJ, my forehead sweats profusely when presenting, despite rehearsing 100+ times. Any help with the rehearsing? So Andrew, and thank you so much for sharing something personal like that. We do appreciate it. I've been sweating too much before. When I walked too quickly to the CNN studios, I didn't give myself time to cool down. And then once you're sweating and you're speaking, whether it's on camera in front of a live audience, there's this negative feedback loop of, oh, I'm sweating. Uh-oh, people can see me sweating. I'm nervous about people see me sweating, so I sweat more. So I can very much relate to that. Andrew, if you feel like coming on, then just click the button for StreamYard. And Ben, did you post the StreamYard connection again in the chat, in the comments? If you could post it. If Andrew would like to join us in StreamYard, we could talk about that. So one question I have for you, Andrew, I'm really happy that you're rehearsing a lot. That's fantastic. Are you rehearsing on video? I really need to know the answer to that before I can give you any more specific feedback, because I've certainly seen people rehearse 100 times, 1,000 times, but they're not rehearsing on video. So every time they do it, they're still left with a sense of, I really have no idea how I'm doing here. And if you finish a rehearsal and you don't really know how you're coming across, there's a part of you that will rationally think there's a chance I might still be awful. And if I am still awful, I should be nervous. And if I am awful and nervous, maybe sweating is an appropriate response. So, Andrew, can you give me a little more feedback on exactly how you are rehearsing? And Vaya says hello. Madhav says hello. Madhav, glad you could be with us here today. And so happy our viewer count from around the world is actually going up. And we are 2 hours and 24 seconds into the live stream today. So I'm happy that more of you are coming by. Okay, Andrew. So this is what I thought. Andrew says he's rehearsing 100 times, never on video. But even then, my physical symptoms just destroy my presentations all the time. So I'm a little confused. You're saying you never rehearse on video, but even then, my physical symptoms just destroy my presentations. If you don't ever rehearse on video, then how do you know that wouldn't solve the problem? Here's what I have found with people I train all over the world. Every culture, doesn't matter if they're 10 years old or 80 years old, is if you rehearse on video once and look at it, doesn't help. It could make you worse. But if you rehearse on video, look at it, figure out what you like, what you don't like, do more of what you like, less of what you don't like, do it again, and repeat that process again and again and again until you actually love what you see on video. At that point, it becomes extraordinarily difficult to be nervous. It's very difficult to sweat unless you're just in a really hot room. So that's why I'm asking that. So if you could fill me in a little more, because I'm not quite understanding what I want to make sure I'm being responsive to you. I'm not quite sure what you mean by you never practice on video, but your physical symptoms still destroy your presentations. So again, my point is if you haven't seen yourself on video, you don't really know how you're coming across. If you don't know how you're coming across, you're going to be nervous. We were talking earlier today, there was a well-known actor, former wrestler who appeared almost 99% naked on the Academy Awards, which is one of the largest audiences in the United States for television every year. He was completely naked on stage for a comedy bit. Now, if you said to me or most people, would you mind going on live national TV in front of 80 million people completely naked except for a little note card? Would you be nervous, and would you like to get rid of that nervousness? I don't think practicing it would help. You would actually want to see a video of, okay, I now see that I've got every muscle showing and no fat showing. You want some evidence. I guarantee you John Cena did not go on live national TV naked last night without really seeing exactly how he looked. Now, when it comes to how your body looks, you can see that in a mirror. But when it comes to how you speak, a mirror doesn't work. You have to record yourself on video. Vaya says, I have an exam on Wednesday. Hope communication skills can help me. Well, is it an oral exam? Madhav, let us know exactly what sort of an exam you have. Now, Andrew, again, I hope you're not feeling like I'm picking on you or putting too much pressure on you. My only goal is to help solve the problem. So again, I would say if you can join me on screen, we could talk about it and we can have a conversation. I could help more. Otherwise, if you just want to type in the answer of have you practiced on video, you're saying never, but I'm confused by the next sentence because I do find that actually does solve the problem of sweating. Okay. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Andrew says, practicing on video would be too hard to watch. I mean, the cringe, my voice, seeing myself. Andrew, you are not alone. Believe me, trust me, you are not alone. Most people in the world, it's actually the very rare individual who doesn't cringe looking at themselves on camera? You can find some of the most beautiful Hollywood movie stars, men and women, will say, "Oh, I never watch myself." People pay them tens of millions of dollars. They're so good looking on screen, and they still don't watch themselves. So you're not alone. But I'm telling you, Andrew, everyone else has to see you. Everyone else has to hear your voice. So you need to know how you're coming across. This is frankly why, I'll just share with you, be blunt with you. This is frankly why, even though I think I've created the greatest online public speaking courses in the world, they don't work for 99% of my students. And it's because they just sit back and watch me. They don't do the homework assignment that I give out in every course and first 1 or 2 lessons, which is you've got to turn on your camera. You've got to turn the camera on, record yourself speaking, and watch. That is the only way to get over nervousness. Now, Andrew, I am sympathetic to you, but we all have to do things that take us out of our comfort zone. You say it's too hard. It's not hard to watch yourself on video. You say it might make you cringe. Yeah, it might make yourself cringe. Nobody's perfect, but here's the thing. Nobody in your audience cares. I can look at video of myself and say, wow, I had beautiful hair when I was 20 years old. It's all gone. I could say, oh my God, look at my thick, fat neck. I look horrible. I could look at my gray hair. Look at my wrinkles. I could sit here and talk myself out of ever appearing on camera. And in fact, if statistically, without even having seen you, I'm willing to bet you have a lot better hair than I do. So you have that going for you in all likelihood. So everyone has something they don't like. Now, I've used this example before. I'll use it again. If you had to write an essay in school, would you want to simply dictate it once and have to send it into the teacher and be graded for your final exam? Or would you want to be able to look at it and spell check it, edit it, grammar check, and realize, oh, I used the wrong word there. It sounds the same, but it's the wrong word. I dictated it, used the wrong one. Would you want to notice that there's a spelling error before you correct it before submitting it to your teacher? I'm pretty sure you wouldn't simply want to dictate an essay and send it to your teacher. And you wouldn't say to yourself, well, I don't like to look at my own writing. Sometimes it's messy or there's typos. I don't want to look at my writing. No, you want to look at it because you want to know, how is the teacher going to see it? Because if you don't look at your writing before submitting an essay to a teacher, you're essentially throwing out your rough draft. You're throwing out your garbage to other people. Why do we call a rough draft a rough draft? Because it's rough. It's the first draft. So that is why you need to practice on video. Now, let's clarify. Everyone's good at avoiding certain things they don't like. Saturday afternoon, Friday night, I had every intention of putting together a new closet for shoes for our apartment where I live with my wife and daughter. We wanted to clean up the shoe rack. And so I bought a nice rack. It had to be assembled. And I took it all out. I looked at the instructions. I Googled YouTube for a video, putting it together. I started a couple things. The print was so small on the manual, I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I told myself, oh, this is too hard. And then I hired a handyman to do it, who did it in an hour. Now, was it too hard? No, I could have done it. I just didn't want to do it. I was too lazy. Everybody has some aspect of laziness. I just decided I didn't want to do it. So I told myself, oh, it's too hard for me to do. I could have done it. Now, it worked out perfectly fine. I'd rather, I spent that hour this weekend having fun with my daughter. Nothing wrong with that. because no one is counting on me to build a closet for shoes. But people are going to count on you. Your career is dependent on how well you speak from time to time. So that's why simply telling yourself it's too hard is working against you. It is harming you. It's not hurting me, not hurting anyone else other than if you have any family members dependent on, but it is hurting your career. So I'm urging you to try it. I promise you, you can practice on video. No one will see it. You don't have to share it with me or anyone else. And you will not be struck by a lightning bolt killing you. Try it and try it again and again and again, and it will become less painful each time. Here's what I've noticed, frankly, is a lot of people think they're so awful, and the first time they watch it, they're like, a lot better than I thought. It builds confidence. Well, and great. Oh, wait, I'm missing something. Andrew has posted several comments. And first, I just wanted to say, Sherry, thanks so much for stopping by and giving us all sorts of nice emojis. I don't know if these are smiles or cries. I'm not really up on all my emojis, so apologies for that. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any comments. Oh, Madam has a one-on-one conversation with a faculty member. So we want to wish you good luck with that, Madam. Hope it goes well. Okay, now I want to respond to Andrew, who was nice enough to talk about personal things, which is hard to do. Thing is, my physical symptoms are overwhelming: knee shaking, choking up, shaky voice, and flushing to the point I highly doubt just practicing on video would help. I even suspect I have anxiety disorder, but I'll definitely try it in my next presentation. So, Andrew, it's a chance it might not help. There's a chance you may have various disorders. I'm certainly not a trained psychiatrist or psychologist or any sort of medical profession. And I do not in any way want to seem glib and say, anyone who has any kind of problem, boom, just try my one technique and no one ever has problems again. All I'm suggesting is it is the most rational starting point to try to attempt the problem. If you have a massive, massive fear of swimming and you have to take a swimming test to graduate from college, I would say a logical starting point would be taking a swimming lesson in the shallow end of the pool and actually getting in the water. If you've never, ever, ever been in water, simply telling yourself, I'm too afraid to get in the water, isn't going to help you pass the swim test. If you have a massive fear of writing a letter to someone and you've never been to a single class on writing, the logical starting point would be to take a writing class and then looking at your writing. So there are all sorts of disorders in the world, but also, frankly, there are a lot of people who have all kinds of disorders who end up becoming excellent public speakers. So I wouldn't rule things out so quickly. And I guess my challenge, I don't want to seem unsympathetic, but I also feel like before we say we have this huge, huge problem, let's try the absolute simplest, easiest solution. If you're 6 years old and you've never learned how to read or write, rather than going through your life saying, I feel so awful and nervous about the fact that I can't write, the most logical starting place is to go to first grade and sit in a class where a teacher teaches you how to write, and you have to look at your own writing. What I'm saying is for public speaking, most of us have never had any training. So most of us are basically in our first day of first grade when it comes to learning speaking skills. It is a skill you can do. I can see simply from your typing, your English is excellent, your spelling is great. You've made fewer errors typing today than I have in the comments section. So clearly your mental faculties are working. What I would suggest is carve out some time and take all the pressure off. Do it in a room alone. Practice 3 minutes of a presentation Don't wait till you have to give it tomorrow. Practice one that you may have to give in a month. Record it, and I need you to do it in this exact format. I need you to record yourself speaking, watch it, get a blank sheet of paper, notepad out, or you can do it on your phone. And I want you to write down everything you like about how you came across. And if you say, well, teacher, I don't like anything, it's all awful, you're not looking carefully. If nothing else, say you like the fact that you have better hair than TJ. If your volume is loud enough for you to hear yourself on your cell phone, I need you to give yourself credit for having enough volume. Everyone does something right when they speak, unless they just instantly collapse, in which case they were at least memorable. So I want you to try that. Do not expect to do it once and magically make it great. No one goes to school for one day in first grade, listens to the teacher talk about the alphabet and a period and a comma, and says, no, I'm good to go. I can go become a professional writer. That's not how anyone becomes a great writer, right? So I want you to give yourself some time. Practice. You're not trying to go from an awful nervous speaker to great in one take, or in 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or an hour, or even in a day. Although a day can solve the problem in most cases, especially if you work with a professional. So, Andrew, you're talking about beta blockers. That's not something that solves the underlying problem. Right now, the problem is what I believe is making you nervous is the fact that you don't know if you're actually interesting to your audience. You don't know if the way you're speaking makes you come across as comfortable, confident, authoritative, interesting, and memorable and useful to your audience. You will never know that if you don't rehearse on video. So the problem with the beta blockers is it might make you feel better, but it doesn't solve any of the underlying problems. And I have clients who've done, you're not the first to suggest beta blockers. I have clients who've used beta blockers and they go on national TV and they do this. Yes, I'm very happy about the economic performance of my mutual fund in the last quarter. And guess what? They were completely relaxed speaking on camera in front of hundreds of thousands of people on CNBC. Problem solved, right? Well, no, they looked like zombies. They looked horrible. They sounded horrible. They didn't come across as comfortable and confident and believable. So they didn't solve the underlying problem. If I told you, I don't know why we're talking about naked men again, other than John Cena was on the Oscars last night. But if I told you, hey, I'm really nervous about walking through Times Square naked, I'm afraid people are going to point and laugh. I'm afraid the police might come and arrest me. I think I'll take a beta blocker and I'll be relaxed. Would that sound like a good plan? Or maybe the plan is, TJ, put some clothes on. Actually wear something that people aren't going to point and laugh at you walking through Times Square. So I want you to scrape away and let's look at the deeper problem here. The problem is you need to know that you're coming across as interesting, confident, relaxed, understandable, engaging, and memorable to your audience. Because when that happens, it's impossible to be nervous. Right now, you might not love what I'm saying, and maybe I don't have 10 billion people watching me, but I'm not nervous at all because I've already seen myself on video saying the exact same things I'm saying right now. So I'm comfortable. I know I'm doing the best I can. So I couldn't force myself to all of a sudden start sweating now, even if I wanted to. I could say, sweat, nothing would come out because I know exactly how I'm coming across. So That's why I want you to try the easy solution. Again, let's not overcomplicate it. I'm not opposed to drugs. Have I ever taken, do I take aspirin occasionally? Sure. I'm not opposed to medicine. But if the easiest, simplest solution is right here, let's try that first. Again, if you had to write an important cover letter to a prospective employer and you just dictated one draft and I came to you and said, how do you feel about it? And you say, I'm nervous. The letter might not be good. It might have spelling errors, mistakes. Do you want me to hand you a pill to make you feel better about that letter? Or do you want us to maybe both look at it and I give you some feedback on the spelling errors and grammar errors, and together we edit it so that the letter actually looks good, and then we hit send? I'm pretty sure you'd want the latter and not the former, because actually editing the letter with typos and misspellings solves the problem. You now are able to communicate effectively. I don't know how you come across when you speak. Now, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad, but I can tell you most speakers in the academic world and the business world are awful. So if you are awful, if you haven't done any training and you haven't recorded on video, it's not a surprise. And frankly, other people probably won't notice because they're used to awful presenters. I want to make you great. I want to make you up here. Okay. Andrew says, thank you so much for your response so far, but I think you have to really feel physical symptoms as a result of stage fright to know how truly bad is for some people. Extremely bad luck to be this way. Andrew, I've been nervous before. I remember the first time I got up to speak in front of people and I felt like these twitches in my ear, like my ear was clogging up. I've been nervous before too. I didn't rehearse on video. Now, my first speech was 1975. My family didn't own a video camera. There were no cell phones invented then. So, Andrew, again, I'm worried I'm not coming across as a sympathetic human being. And I do want to be sympathetic, and I do think I am sympathetic. But again, if you're going boating with friends in a month and you're worried about falling off and drowning, and you've never had a single swim lesson in your life, you do have an option. You could just say, I'm never going to go on a boat. You could do that. You could take a beta blocker, so when you are on the boat, you're not nervous about it. But there is a more direct solution to begin with. Take a swim lesson and get in the water. And if you're like most people, you're going to be horrible the first time you get in the water. But there is a set process. You get in shallow water. It's only knee deep. And then you go a little deeper. And then you just put your face down and you blow bubbles and you're not in the deep end. There's a set process for learning how to swim to avoid your fear of drowning. It's completely rational to have a fear of drowning if you're in water, deep water, and you can't swim. So it's rational. Your fears of speaking is in fact rational. So I do feel for you, but I'm telling you, there is at least one simple, you don't have to hire me, it costs you nothing. There is a simple, painless, physically painless remedy that has worked for millions of other people and hundreds of thousands of my clients, that I want you to at least try, and don't go into it with the attitude of, I can't do it. I've got all this. I'm horrible. You're talking yourself out of it before you even try. So that's why I'd like you to think of it. Well, again, if practicing on video doesn't work, what then? Am I done? Why are we giving up on practicing on video already? How would you determine if it worked or not? Are you expecting to record yourself once on video, look at it, and then sit down and cry, oh, it's awful, I can't do it, didn't work? If you go into it with that attitude, I guarantee you it's not going to work. Back to swimming. Not everyone can be a world-class Michael Phelps Olympic swimmer. But anyone who does not have specific physical abnormalities, you're not missing limbs, but someone who has basic health can learn to swim. You might not be that fast. It might not look that great. But my understanding, and from what I've seen in real life, any swimming instructor would say, if you bring me someone who has average, slightly below average or above cognitive abilities, a body that doesn't have any severe physical impediments, may take a week, may take a month, they can learn to swim. It's steps. You get in the water, you blow bubbles. The next step, you hold the wall, you blow bubbles. You do another step, you kick. You put these things together. And I'm saying there is a process for learning how to speak so that you look comfortable and confident and relaxed to other people. And if you practice enough and you see that you look relaxed, comfortable, and confident, it becomes impossible to be nervous because there's no fear of the unknown. What generates fear for so much of it? It's fear of the unknown. Why are we afraid of the dark? Halloween is not brightly lit, it's dark. Cemeteries are dark. Little children are afraid of the lights out because we don't know. Why are we afraid of public speaking? Well, if we haven't seen ourselves give a speech, how we come across is unknown. We don't really know how we're coming across. So it's entirely logical and rational to fear the unknown. And what I'm trying to do is to give you this tool to stop that problem. How you speak doesn't have to be unknown. If you woke me up in the middle of the night and there was no room in the light, no light on, and you said, well, TJ, now you're going to speak and we're going to put the camera on you, but you're not going to see yourself on screen anyplace else. We're going to put your head in a vise and your hands can't move, and you're not going to know if you're completely naked or not. Yeah, I would be uncomfortable with that, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm broadcasting live and I can't even see anything I look like. And I just woke up in the middle of the night and what little strands I have left sticking out weirdly, that would feel really awkward, uncomfortable. But I don't have to do that. And neither do you. So that's why I want you to really think about giving this thing a fair try. I don't think and I don't mean to prejudge you because we're not really talking. We lose some things by text. But I've just literally never seen it not work. I've never seen anyone systematically practice on video who didn't get better, who didn't get more confident, who didn't get to the point of not sweating obsessively, nervously when they're speaking to people. So I'd like you to give it a try, Andrew, please. Please give it a try. And the whole thing is you can't just look at it once and say it's awful, because that's the most likely human response. And that is frankly why people hire me. And I'm not trying to pitch your business, but that is why people hire someone like me. Is if you just do it on your own, quite often it's easy to fixate on flaws and not even see the 10 or 20 things you're doing well. And it can derail you. So ideally, you could find someone you trust or like as a partner to do this with you, where you can focus on that positive reinforcement. Andrew, I wish you nothing but the best. Please let me know how it goes. Hugo writes, TJ, would you provide some advice on how to be more articulate and improve vocabulary? I'd be happy to. And you know what? Let me try to give Andrew a little more practical advice in both short form and long form, so I can share it with my visitors to YouTube and other social media in an edited format. This is live, but we're not sharing this out later. So I'm going to hit record and try to do that. And I also, Tick had posted a video who asked for a critique. I will come back to that as well. So I'm going to hit record. I'm going to go to camera 1. So what do you do if you're so nervous when you give a presentation that all of a sudden you feel, uh-oh, all this sweat is coming down. I'm perspiring so much and I could just collapse up here in front of people. It's so nerve-wracking. If you've ever felt that way, you are not alone. This is a common problem people have. Now, the solution that I recommend, you're going to want to say, no, TJ, it doesn't work for me, doesn't work for me. Time out. Please listen to me. The solution is you need to practice in advance on video. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, TJ, I practiced 100 times. It doesn't work. I'm still just as nervous. I didn't ask you to practice 100 times. I asked you to practice your presentation on video. No, I don't like my voice. I don't like the way I look. Guess what? I'm sympathetic to you. I've got things I don't like. You think I like my hairline or my jawline? I'm sympathetic to you, but nobody else cares. Whether you're speaking to a teacher, business colleagues, investors, nobody cares what you look like. They just don't. Nobody cares what you sound like unless your voice is like Morgan Freeman and you're auditioning to be the voice of God. Nobody cares what you sound like. What they care about is, are you saying something, anything interesting or useful to them? If you do that, they will love you. Now, you may be thinking, there's got to be an easier way. I know. I'll take a beta blocker. I hear these drugs are great. I'll no longer be nervous. You could do that, but it's not really dealing with the fundamental problem. It's just papering over the problem. The problem is not that you feel a little nervous. Quite often the problem is the speech you're giving, the presentation you're giving isn't interesting or memorable to people or useful to people, and you're giving the presentation in a way that makes you look scared, stiff, nervous, uncomfortable, whether it's sweat coming down or you're clutching the lectern or you're rocking back and forth to make yourself look nervous. That's the real problem. So let's forget the beta blockers or the shot of tequila or these other things and actually go deeper and solve the underlying problem. The problem is you don't really know how you're coming across to your audience. And you're concerned that you might not be coming across as comfortable, confident, relaxed, and authoritative. You're concerned the way you're speaking isn't understandable to people or memorable to people. Well, guess what? Those are legitimate concerns because most speakers in the business world, the professional world, aren't really coming across that confident, and they're not memorable. They're just giving people a boring data dump. So there's a very real concern there. Let's actually solve the problem. Fortunately, you can, at no cost, gather a very, very extensive focus group research team to let you know if your presentation is boring or not. And I'm talking about you. You have a lifetime of experience listening to teachers, business people, executives, colleagues giving presentations. You already know what's boring and uninteresting and instantly forgotten. You already know who is coming across in a scared, nervous, uncomfortable way. You know what sends signals. Like if someone starts reading quickly, head down, you know, uh-oh, poor TJ, he's having trouble here. I feel sorry for him, but let me just read my cell phone instead and check email. You know what doesn't work. So use that knowledge to help yourself. You can't do it without watching yourself speak. So I beg you, never, ever, ever simply rehearse a speech out loud. Never, ever, ever rehearse a speech staring at a mirror. Only invest your valuable time if you can get the greatest return on your investment. And that means you need to practice your speech in front of a video camera. You need to record it. You need to look at it. Then here's the absolute hardest part. You're going to tell me this is insane. You're going to tell me you can't possibly do it. You are wrong. The thing I want you to do is to watch yourself give a speech and then make notes of only the things you like. Write down step by step exactly what you like. If nothing else, give yourself credit for having more hair than I do, or having enough volume in your speech so that people can hear you. Everybody does certain things well. Now, do the very same speech again and only focus on doing more of what you liked. Don't even think about your flaws yet. Now, after you've done it a second time and you've watched it, make notes of what you did better that time. Make notes of what you liked. Now try to isolate every single thing you didn't like and be specific. Don't say I lacked confidence. Say it looked weird the way I was holding a pen. Don't say I didn't like my overall presence. That's too general. But do note, if you spoke too quickly and you sounded nervous, note the speaking speed. I want you to practice again, doing more of what you liked, but this time try to improve just one item, one thing from the checklist that you didn't like. Do it again. Record, watch, critique. All we're looking for is one tiny improvement in one area. Keep doing it again and again and again until the list of things you like with your presentation is getting higher and higher. The list of things you don't like is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Keep doing it, not until you're perfect. Nobody's perfect. The presentation I'm giving you right now isn't perfect, but it's good enough. I want you to get to the point where you can watch the video and say, hey, pretty good. I like the way I sound. I like the way I'm coming across. If that weren't me, I would actually watch that person because they're coming across more or less comfortable, confident, relaxed. They've got interesting ideas and they're memorable ideas. When you do that, you will be confident in front of the real audience because you now have evidence that how you're speaking works. You didn't have any evidence before. All you had was a wish. You want evidence. You want it in a heart surgeon. You want to know that surgeon has performed 10,000 other successful surgeries. You want evidence. You want evidence before your next presentation, and you can do it if you're willing to rehearse in this specific way. Now, it may take you 10 minutes, may take you 2 hours, may take you 10 hours. Guess what? Nobody else cares. You get the most benefit if your presentation goes well. You get the blame if it doesn't. You are the biggest beneficiary of you being a great presenter every single time. So if you feel like you're uniquely nervous or uncomfortable or you sweat a lot, there's nothing unique about you. I'm sorry. This is a common human condition. Where you can differentiate yourself, really stand out, is by doing a little extra work to learn how to be a great communicator. And it's not hard. It doesn't cost money. It doesn't require a tremendous amount of physical exertion. All it requires is you hitting the record button, watching, and practicing. Okay, so that was kind of the long version of that. I'm hoping I did it long enough to make it 8 minutes long. I didn't check the time. Okay, I'm going to come to Hugo in a moment, plus Tick, and really hoping to do some Amazon influencer videos as well. Let me just make sure, again, we're doing this sort of a live workshop here. This is not NBC News. This is not CNN. I just had to make sure I have no actual emergencies. And no, I'm just getting spam. What do you know? Nothing that important. I like to see if I've been on this long Do I have any urgent calls from family or clients? Okay, so we are good. We're going to continue doing this. I want to do a quick short form video on the topic we just did. And I'm going to clear my set here. I don't really want the teacup in the scene. I'm going to take that away as well. What do you do if you've rehearsed 100 times and you're still incredibly nervous? You're sweating before that speech. Well, rehearsal isn't enough. You need to rehearse on video, even though I know you don't want to. Look at it and keep doing it again and again and again until you like what you see. If you do that, I promise you, you won't sweat anymore. You won't be nervous. Okay, so that's the short form version of that. Some people are never going to join me for a 3-hour live session like this. That's okay. Some people will watch an 12-minute video. That's great. Some people will never watch 12-minute video, but will watch a 30-second video on TikTok or YouTube Shorts. So I have to be flexible with how I communicate these insights. So that's why I did that in like a really long one, and then a shorter one, and then a really short one. Okay. Sherry says, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much, Sherry. Very much appreciate your kind thoughts and that you do appreciate it. And if you don't mind me asking, Sherry, what have I said today of anything that was valuable to you? I mean, I certainly appreciate general praise, but I also like to know exactly what resonated or worked. Okay, Hugo's asked, could you provide some advice on how to be more articulate and improve your vocabulary? Let me do a long one on that because those are very, very important issues. And I say long, I mean about 8 minutes. And wow, we are over 3 hours today. We have a lot to do, and this is sort of the catch-up week because last week I was off all week doing infrastructure planning. Next week, I'm off all week doing vacationing with my family. Not expecting sympathies from you. So we got to really catch up on a lot of things today. This week, I try not to go longer than 3 hours, but there's just too much going on that we need to cover. And Ben, I don't want to hold you up. So if you've got other things you need to do, I understand completely. But if you're able to do those and have one ear open, that is fine as well. Sherry says, practicing on video and writing what you do like instead of not like. Okay, music to my ears, Sherry. I'm glad that's resonating with you because it's not what people are prone to do on their own. People want to look at a video I've seen people you would think they're great speakers, record them, and I ask them to create a list of what they like and don't like, and then they hold up their notepad. They got 27 things they hate about themselves, nothing they like, and everyone else in the room thought they were great. They had one and they obsessed over how awful it was. No one else even noticed. So you've heard the expression, we're often our own worst critics. It's definitely true when it comes to speaking skills. Okay, let's hop right into, we'll do a long form on how to be more articulate and improve your vocabulary. And I'm going to take note of the time. It's 3:07. Or it's basically a couple seconds before 3:08. So articulate and vocabulary. So what do you do if you want to be more... Some irony there. I'm stumbling over a video on how to teach people how to be more articulate. Okay, this is what we do here is I try to be transparent and actually show you how does this process work. You go to most channels, you never see anything but the finished product. Everyone is completely fluent and gaffe-free on the videos they post that have been edited. I'm showing you the rough draft, the actual process right here. I hope to inspire you to make you realize nobody's perfect. You make a mistake, you just start over. Okay, let's start that one over. What do you do if you want to be a more articulate speaker and presenter and you want to boost your vocabulary? If you're like a lot of people, especially if English isn't your first language, you're uncomfortable with the idea that maybe people think you mumble. It's not as clear as it could be. You're not simply seen as highly articulate. Your vocabulary, maybe you're using wrong words or small words. Well, the number one way to boost other people's perceptions of you being articulate is to speak more. Now, the way to do it is to speak every day or at least once a week in front of one of these, a video camera. Now, you could talk about your favorite sports team. You could do a podcast where you simply talk about your favorite musicians. It could be about anything. But the sheer act of speaking, knowing other people can hear you, maybe even look at you, will make you more articulate. Now, if you're doing a 1-hour podcast once a week, maybe you don't listen to all of it, but you certainly want to listen to at least 5 minutes of it. Build an ear for what you like when you speak. The sheer act of speaking makes speaking less scary. One of the reasons you may be less than completely articulate is you don't speak often enough. And when you don't speak often enough, you become nervous and uncomfortable, especially if you're speaking to a group larger than you're used to. If you're used to speaking to 2 colleagues at the office, and now it's a staff meeting with 10 people, the most common thing to have happen is you tighten up and, okay, I just want to give everyone a quick summary of what we did in the last week. And you hear how awful my voice is there. I tighten my body, tighten my face, my volume went down. I became flat and monotone. I became less articulate simply because the situation changed, the environment changed. I was out of my comfort zone, so I became less articulate. The problem so many people have is that they are perfectly articulate in certain situations. If you're talking to your best friend or your 2 best friends from high school or college, and you're talking about a sporting event you all saw last night, you're all of a sudden very articulate, especially if you're upset by the call from a referee or you're really happy about the results. You can be highly articulate in that situation. But when your boss asks you to stand up and give a report of everything you've done in the last quarter in order to get your budget approved for next quarter, all of a sudden you're not very articulate and you're kind of looking around, you're flat. It's awful. The problem is not that you're not articulate. The problem is you have a skill set that you're using here, talking to friends in a comfortable environment. And because the environment changes, you're making yourself less articulate. So the whole solution is to make yourself more comfortable. The way you're going to make yourself more comfortable is by practicing and rehearsing. Now, if you have to speak in front of 1,000 people and you've never spoken to more than 20 people, sure, you're likely to be uncomfortable the first time. But what will reduce the discomfort is practicing on video again and again and again. Ideally, you can practice on the stage where you'll be. Get comfortable with the room. Get comfortable walking and talking if you are going to be in front of a large group. If you're speaking in front of people and you're using a slide deck and there's a screen behind you, you want to practice looking at the screen that your audience will, not simply practicing staring at your laptop. It's easy to see it there. Everything looks great on a screen 10 inches in front of your face, but if it's projected all of a sudden and you realize, wow, everyone in the last half of this room can't see the bottom of this screen, maybe I've got to explain it more, or better yet, edit the screen to make the image clear and simpler. So it's critical that you rehearse and get comfortable hearing yourself. You know what inarticulate people sound like. You've been listening to them your whole life. The problem is when you're speaking in front of someone and you're a little bit nervous, you don't really know how you're coming across because you're thinking, oh, let me get through this quickly. I don't want to make a mistake. If I hurry up and finish quickly, no one will notice the mistakes I'm making. Wrong. people are going to notice the mistakes. They notice that you sound scared. They notice that you sound uncomfortable. So you're not fooling anyone, but you can't notice it because you're there. You're overwhelmed with fear at the moment, or at least low level discomfort. The solution is you've got to practice. And these days, we all have an infinite number of ways of practicing our speaking. Just turn on your cell phone, turn on your webcam, turn on any cam, and talk about something. It could be a hobby. It could be the niche and the industry that you work in, where you're giving insights to people throughout your industry. But you no longer have to wait for an invitation to come speak to the Rotary Club or the largest trade association once a year in your industry. You can speak every single day. Create a YouTube channel, a TikTok channel, do video on Instagram, Facebook. Everybody wants video these days. The simplest video is you simply speaking. You don't have to have flashy graphics and image and lots of editing and music. Just talk. If you give people information that's either interesting or entertaining, and it's a lot easier to just be interesting and useful, some will watch it. Some will give you feedback. Some will let you know you're coming across clearly and you're understandable and that you are articulate. So that is the number one way of becoming more articulate, to speak more. Listen to a part of that to see how you're coming across. If you do a 10-minute video once a day on wine, as Gary Vaynerchuk did when he was starting his online career, you maybe don't watch all of it. Watch the first 30 seconds and judge how articulate you sound. If it doesn't sound great to you, do something a little better tomorrow. Quite often, it's simply a matter of boosting the volume. Quite often, it's just putting in more pauses to make it easier for the audience to process what you're saying. Now, to the next question, how can you boost your vocabulary? Couple of ways. Number one, read better things. Read better content. If all you read is silly entertainment news about Hollywood celebrities and who's going through a divorce, your vocabulary isn't going to build. If you're mostly reading content about sporting news, how your favorite soccer team, football team, basketball team did, your vocabulary is not going to improve, because the writers of stories like that have to appeal to kindergartners who also like sports. You need to read serious content about subjects you care about and that you're likely to speak on. Next thing you need to do is watch people you respect and admire talk about these things. It's one thing to read a certain word, and you may read it frequently, but if you've never heard it said and you've never heard it, you're going to be reluctant to use it. So the next thing is you need to watch people who are intelligent, educated, and respected in your industry, whether it's TED Talks, whether it's other industry talks. You need to listen to them speak. You need to listen to their podcast. And you need to avoid the simplest temptation, the easiest temptation of another Hollywood movie on Netflix, another silly entertainment short form video on TikTok or YouTube, time wasting stuff. Watch serious people speak about their craft. That's the second thing. The third thing you need to do is to speak more. Relates to the tip on how to become more articulate. You need to speak more, occasionally using the right word that now makes sense to you because you've internalized it. You're not just trying to impress people with, look at this big word I used. No, it's going to become natural to you because you're going to be thinking with these words, because it's what you read and it's what you hear other people talk. It's now what you think in, and that's why they're coming out of your mouth. And that is how you become more articulate and build your vocabulary. Okay, that was, wow, I think that was 11 minutes long. Okay, minute stop. I need to do a short form on that. Okay, before I forget. So I'm going to go to camera 2. How can you become more articulate and boost your vocabulary? It's simple. You need to speak more and you need to watch people you respect in your industry and talking about important matters. If all you do is consume entertainment and sports news, your vocabulary will stay at the level of a 5-year-old. Now, in retrospect, to use a big vocabulary word, I probably should have broken that up into 2 separate topics, because when you're doing a short form, trying to cover 2 topics in 30 seconds is usually not a good idea. But I've already done it, and I think there may be something valuable there. Now, let's go to what's next. Let's see. Sherry says practicing on video and writing. Yeah, we talked about that. Now, Sherry says, I didn't know people hired people to help them speak. Okay. Yeah. Have you ever seen The King's Speech? It was a famous movie about the King of England who had a stutter, and it was all about his speech coach. So yes, it has been around a long time. It's not a giant industry. It is what I do. Whether you call it a media trainer, a presentation coach, a public speaking coach. Yes, I mean, anything in life where someone is trying to get better, there's going to be some coach there to teach you. I hired a coach several months ago to teach me how to e-foil. If you don't know what an e-foil is, it's like a surfboard that's 3 feet above the water with an electric motor, and you stand on it and you don't have to wait for a wave or wind or anything. And there was no such thing as an e-foil instructor 10 years ago, because I don't think e-foils existed, but now they do. So there's an instructor for absolutely anything. Sherry says, I don't talk a lot. I write a lot. Okay. So Sherry, I'm certainly not here to tell you and everyone you've got to become a professional motivational speaker. No. What I do here is try to help people communicate more effectively in every aspect of life. So there certainly are professional writers where their ideal day is they get up, they go to their writing room, and they have complete solitude and write. And that works. And they might not talk to anyone. But most really successful writers do have to talk to their publishers. They have to negotiate contracts. They have to talk to their publicist. If they have books, they then have to go on major talk shows and talk about their book. You certainly think of the most successful writers in certainly my lifetime. Some of them, like Gore Vidal, Norman Mailer, are known primarily for their appearances on talk shows. That's what generated so much interest in their books. Dr. Phil, a famous TV personality here in the United States, has written 20 New York Times best-selling books. And I'm not saying the books are bad, but they're selling primarily because he speaks on every talk show promoting his book. Now, you might not be writing books that you're trying to sell to the public, but even if you are an in-house corporate communications newsletter writer, you're going to do a better job of writing if you can speak to executives about what new things have happened that they want included in the newsletter. So it's something that we as humans all have to do, even if we're just talking to a family member, a child, a parent. We all have to communicate by speaking. And Sherry says, I want to communicate more. Well, thank you so much for communicating with us by text. Always happy to have people texting and participating in comments. But we also let people appear right on screen and talk. So we're probably out of time for that today. I'm going to have to wrap up some things. But you're welcome to practice your speaking right here whenever we're live. And we will be back here live tomorrow. I did promise Tick that I would react to his video. So let me pull this up. I'm going to hit share screen, an entire screen. Actually, I did it too soon. I'm going to hit this video. All right. Now I've got to go back to StreamYard. I've got to hit present. I hit share Sharing audio, entire screen. Also sharing the audio there. And now I'm hitting share. Okay.
I want to say a few words about the word planning. Planning is very important in anything you are doing. For example, you're a YouTuber and you have to record YouTube videos. So, although you can record videos at any time, you take up the camera, you switch on the camera, and you start talking and you start recording the video. But if you plan your videos, if you plan how many videos you are going to share in this week or in this month, how many videos you have to record every single day, then it will become a lot more productive and easier for you to become consistent in what you are doing in uploading videos.
Okay. So Dick does a number of things nicely. He's clearly articulate. I don't know if I had my volume set quite the right way, but he was clearly articulate. Eye contact is good. Good hand motion from his right hand. So I like that. Now, what I would suggest for improvement is you're taking the time to make a lot of videos. That's great. I would somehow either put your phone on a bookshelf or use a webcam or something where you don't have to hold your phone, because when you're holding your phone, I'm not saying it's always a bad idea, but you're shutting down half your body language, because not only can your left hand not move, but your arm doesn't move and it immobilizes part of your body. So I would try to figure out a way to keep both of your hands free. The next thing is the wires coming out of your head. It's distracting. It's a visual distraction. So it's making me wonder, it just attracted attention. Now that's why, and I couldn't get them to work today, but when I have ear connections, I actually took the time to make this bud more or less flesh colored and to have no wires around, because I did not want to be distracting for that very reason. But the biggest suggestion I have for Tick is this: personalize it. Your message started off very abstract. Planning is important. Well, everyone knows planning is important. So it's very hard to capture attention if you don't say something in a way people haven't heard before. The way to do that is to tell your own personal story. That can make it unique. That can make it different. That can make it fresh. So I would have liked you to really talk about, a specific example. Something say like, planning's critical. We've all heard that, and I believe it. And yet just today, give me an example of how you failed to plan, and how, if you could, and what happened to you that was bad, and how, if you could go back in time 3 hours or 5 hours, how you would have planned to make things much better. That would be a much more compelling structure to get someone interested in planning, because I didn't hear anything that didn't sound generic and abstract. As a communicator, abstraction is your enemy. It's not because people are stupid and don't understand abstractions. It's because they don't visualize it. It's not memorable. If you're telling me a story very specific to you, where I can see in my own mind what you're talking about, it's much easier to remember, and you can make it seem fresher. So Tick, that's my advice. Sorry it was late getting to you. And let me just make sure we didn't miss any other comments. I won't say remaining time, because we're way, way past time, but there's just a lot we got to do this week. And because next week off and last week off. So I'm going to do some quick Amazon influencer videos where, again, I don't talk about it conceptually. I actually demonstrate it. So my first step is I take my phone. I don't use the fancy cameras for this. The iPhone camera is great. I put in a receiver because I do want better audio quality. I put in a little receiver. I'm going to turn on my microphone. I want a green light. Okay, I've got the green light on. I'm going to put this mic. Sometimes I put it on my jacket lapel. Sometimes I put it on the tie. I don't have really strong opinions. I mean, the more you're in the middle, generally, the better. It's not quite as neat a look there, but I'm going to do that. Okay, so what I do is I just put a little tripod. Now you can use a bookshelf, or you can have a family member, a friend. I sometimes have if I'm doing these at home, I'll have I was going to say my 10-year-old daughter, but she turned 11 yesterday. So I've got to get used to calling her my 11-year-old daughter. So sometimes she will do it. So I am going to go to the camera app, hit video, reverse, so because I'll need to see it. And I'm going to put it on the tripod in the thing there. And you know what? I think last week I started making, you know what it is the lighting I thought was a little distracting for the Amazon influencer video. So I've been using the curtain behind me. So I've got to get it sort of close enough. Okay, I think that works more or less. And I realize I'm not framed perfectly for you, but we're trying to do several things at once here. So I'm going to do these Amazon influencer product reviews. These are products that are available on Amazon. I do a quick, I need my remote control. And I hate when I do that. So I put the camera on, got it just right, but I have to take it off because the remote control was underneath it. So I'm going to put the camera back. Frame it this way. I'm going to turn on the remote. And typically I forget to turn it off, but so far it is still working. Okay. Now what I probably should have done and didn't do is put my phone on airplane mode because I just got a message, voicemail came in, and I don't really want to think about other things like that when I'm making these. It can, in fact, be disruptive. Okay. So now I'm framed more or less the way I want to, although obviously I'm not framed for you. You know what? I can do, yeah, this way. I'll give you camera too. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this review of The Modern Con Man. Okay. I don't know if my battery's worn out, but don't seem to be getting it to hit record. Maybe I've turned it the wrong way. Let's try again. Maybe I've turned my Bluetooth off. Let's take a look. Occasionally, for some reason, I'll do that. My Bluetooth is off. Okay. So again, this is not Mr. Beast video where I'm trying to get billions of videos here. I am showing you behind the scenes this process of how someone actually makes videos as an influencer, how someone actually makes videos for YouTube and social media, warts and all. Okay, so now I believe this is going to work now. The Modern Con Man. Todd Robbins is a magical genius. I've seen him perform many times. I highly recommend The Modern Con Man. He is a con man in the best sense of the word. Okay, simple video. Okay. YouTube Secrets by Sean Cannell. If you're thinking of starting a YouTube channel or improving your existing one, this has to be the first book in your library. YouTube Secrets by Sean Cannell. He is the master. Get it now. That is true. I didn't mention his co-author. I just thought for a short, it was too much complexity. Excuse me a moment. I'm going to have to sneeze. Whoa. And I see my old friend Eric has joined us. Eric, we're at the tail end of a marathon at this point, more than 3.5 hour live session. And I'm just making some Amazon influencer videos. We're going to come back live tomorrow and every day this week. So I hope you can join us tomorrow. I'd love to have you on camera, but I'm out of time and I've got to finish making these videos. But Eric, good to see you. Thanks so much. Okay. He's the guru of personal finance for good reason. Dave Ramsey is a pioneer. And this book, I forgot the name of the book. Okay, so that's a simple enough one. I hit the video, I simply hit delete. That is my form of editing. Now I got to go back to the camera. Dave Ramsey is the guru and the founder of the Modern Financial. You know what? I don't know why I'm screwing that one up. Part is I have a little bit of mixed feelings about him. I think he does mostly a good job, but I'm not 100% in favor of all of his techniques. But I do think this is a good book that people interested in personal finance should at least have in their library. The Total Money Makeover. Dave Ramsey is a pioneer in the personal finance world. The Total Money Makeover is his masterpiece. It should be a part of your financial library. Okay, so that's 3 quick ones. I did bring some other products from home as well, as I typically do. I'm just stepping off camera to talk. Let's see what we got here. This is a massage gun that certain family members of mine have really started using and enjoying, and appears to be a high quality product. So typically I recommend things that I use, but sometimes if it's a family member who's used it and really likes it, then I will endorse it as well, or review it, I should say. Bob and Brad gun. Bob and Brad massage gun. Now, what I don't know is, does this need to be charged? Okay. This Bob and Brad massage gun is very powerful. It allows you to target the exact muscle that needs some relief. I love the way it fits in my hand and is easy to manipulate. Okay. That's one. Okay. Now, another product. This is a neck and shoulder relaxer that another family member really enjoys. And it's called the neck and shoulder relaxer. Do you ever get a stiff neck or just a pain in the neck? I know I do. This, I can't believe I forgot. Neck and shoulder relaxer. Oftentimes I try to do everything in one take. There are days when I'll do a flub on, sometimes 20%. That's okay. The key is don't obsess over it. Just hit delete and do it over. Neck and shoulder relaxer. Do you ever get a stiff neck, a sore neck, a pain in the neck? I know I do. That's why I love this neck and shoulder relaxer. It really makes the neck feel a lot better. Okay. That's that product. I'm going to put that down here. I'm just bending down on the floor because I've got to go through and catalog these in a moment on Amazon. So let's see if I have one other product. Here's a sweat jacket I don't think I've done before. And it is one that I like and I use frequently. Although now that I'm in Florida, there are not that many days when you need it. This is I believe is it a Puma brand or Slazenger? Puma. You know, I didn't know till the other day that Puma and Adidas were companies founded by two brothers that got in a feud, and one ran off and started the rival company. I love Puma, and this Puma sweat jacket is comfortable. The zipper works perfectly. It keeps me warm, and it is the Puma brand. Okay. Now, is that the most rousing endorsement for something? Not really. Again, I would stress, let's not overthink this. Let me put my phone over here a minute. Oh, you know, the one thing I forgot to do, what I like to do the very first time I make a video for the day is I like to do a quick check just to make sure it's possible sometimes that the microphone wasn't on or the microphone battery was dead. I am going to take the time to turn off the microphone here. And I'm going to do a quick check, which I should have done before we started, to make sure I hear audio. So I'm going to go. Shame on TJ. I'm not hearing any. Well, that's a perfect example of why the old expression is measure twice, cut once. I went ahead and did 5 videos, and there's absolutely no audio. So now I got to do them again. So let me make sure let me go back to one where I know I have audio.
So for no
Yep.
piranhas in here.
Yep. So, so I've got to do the whole thing again. I won't subject you to that. You know, Eric, you were so patient. Let me just add you on if you're still with us today. How are you today, Eric?
Okay.
Great. So now, correct me if I'm wrong. Where are you based?
I live in Connecticut.
In Connecticut?
Mhm.
Okay, great. So what are you working on today? I know we've crossed paths many times in the past. And tell us what you're working on when it comes to your own communication skills and personal development.
I mean, nothing much. I'm in community college right now.
You're in college. What are you studying?
Business administration.
Okay, great. Well, there's no skill more important for a long and lengthy and profitable business career than communication. So we're glad you're here and can be a part of this. So we have to sign off now. I just wanted to say hello and good to see
Hi.
your name and connected with a face. But please join us tomorrow. And if you have any questions, feel free to come tomorrow. We can have a chat here. And I'm happy to make either long form or short form videos answering any questions you have. I'm TJ Walker.
Okay.
Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you tomorrow. And please like this video if you haven't already. and leave comments on the other videos that have been posted today. We typically post now 4 videos a day, a live stream, 2 short forms, and 1 long form video. Thanks so much. See you tomorrow.